Hello and welcome back to the Live Reality Game Podcast. My name is Steven. I'm here for more Surviving Reelfoot, the Decennium deep dive post-game coverage. And joining me today to talk all about this game, we have James. James, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent, Steven. I really hope you had a great 4th of July week and extended weekend if you had the chance to.
You know, I went to my cousin's house yesterday. My cousin's an electrical engineer, does his own fireworks show.
That's unfair.
It was pretty phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie.
If you get an engineer working on, gunpowder effects, that's they know the wires and they probably know the fire show.
Oh yeah,
so that's awesome.
I just show up, I play with his son, and then I get to enjoy the show that evening. It was a hard life.
Awesome. Yeah, I bet. Probably a harder hangover.
How has your post Reelfoot experience been treating you so far?
Honestly, I just got back to work. Reelfoot was amazing. I know we'll deep dive kind of into the more one-by-one topics as we cover our long format interview, but I definitely had a riot. It was definitely something that was extremely difficult, absolutely and wholly humbling, and something I am just itching to get back out there to try again, just because it's one of those post-game conversations you have internally where I could have done this, I could have done that. And then just weighing your options, your pros, your cons, your moves, your relationships, your tribe members, whether the tribes are balanced the right way, overcoming a lot of early losses and then winning a bunch and then being the next guy to get voted out after winning a bunch. It's been quite the looking back at it, it's been fun. I would be out there tomorrow if I could.
It is a roller coaster experience. And I feel like it is one of the challenges of these games is coming out and having to deal with the host of coulda, shoulda, wouldas, right? And the processing of, I just lost this. What could I have done? How can I do differently? And processing it in a constructive manner without letting kind of eat you up. I've definitely known people you have a game where you have 20 players, 19 losers, right? And you have a lot of people who are going to lose. And how do you process and handle that losing? And everyone does it differently. And I think I will say losing gets easier with experience, if that makes it any better. But losing still sucks.
Which I guess I'll kind of start it off a little bit, maybe kind of guide the first topic. Going into Surviving Reelfoot, my experience with the online gaming community, live reality game community was absolutely zero. I had none. I had absolutely no experience. I didn't find out until after I got voted out that most of the people that I was in a tribe with and on the other tribe have played all these things before, knew about the entire world or universe. I mean, everyone's seen Star Wars, right? But who's read the books? Who's seen the movies? Who's been on Disney Plus, on Amazon Prime? It's the same concept. Like, you don't know there's a whole world out there until you actually go in and do it yourself. And it was definitely humbling. And that's a lot of the reason for my butt kicking on my end post game, is just kind of realizing that, having the conversation with myself, with other players, and even the tribe handlers and the production team at Reelfoot and Hornbeak, they were incredible, by the way, just incredible production team out there. They did a wash up, stand up, amazing job, understaffed, undermanned. They did a great job. But just all of them have played too in some manner or another, and not even just Survivor, Big Brother concepts, and I don't watch reality TV outside of Survivor and cooking shows. So like Gordon Ramsay and Jeff Probst are my two. That's the extent of my reality show experience.
I'm more of a chop person.
So again, just not having the exposure to it before, I think was either could have been an advantage or a disadvantage, but it turned out to be, if you try hard, you play hard, your tree got struck by lightning in camp, you get back after you get voted out too early and ask what the hell was going on, why was I wrong? And it turns out a lot of these people know each other. I was pretty much the wild card in the camp, and I didn't really understand that until I've had a couple of weeks to kind of let it settle in, talk to the players, and be like, oh yeah. No, we were just scared of you, and that was humbling. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, I guess just not having any exposure to that entire world, it damaged me for a couple of weeks. I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time too, nothing you can do about it. It's a game, like you said. You have 20 players, 19 losers, and one winner. And it happened to be Matty P from my tribe, who I literally said, let's get him voted out 10 minutes before tribal when I get voted out. So, these stories do come around, and these are things you think about. But yeah, at the end of the day, it just goes back to, did I play hard? Am I proud of how I played? Did I play an honest game? Am I honest with myself about my time on Hornbeat? Yes. The answer is yes. So yeah, I had no idea this entire world even existed outside of actually being on the ranch and playing Reelfoot.
So let's talk about how you learned about Reelfoot then.
So I went to high school with Brent Showerman, who has played on 2 different prior episodes of Reelfoot, including the last season. Just being a fan of Survivor, I told you I don't really do the whole online gaming thing. So it's like, oh, Brent's playing a live Survivor game. I asked him about it a few years ago after he played the first one, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's very close to the same thing. Like, you only get a thing of rice, you're only cooking, you're building a shelter, you're doing a bunch of challenges a day, you're voting a bunch of people out a day. Like, it's intense." And I said, "Oh, but it's only 8 days." He's like, "Oh my God, you're going to do a lot in 8 days," which I'm like, okay, cool. I wish it was 30 and I was playing for $1 million, but awesome. I'm in. Awesome. And then I saw him play again last year when I was living out in New England too. And I followed that season, pretty religiously. So again, yeah, literally just seeing a classmate play the show. That was it for me. I'm like, I got to do this. And I talked to the right people, got casted, and the rest, I guess, is what we're going to talk about. But yeah, it was literally just, I saw a classmate of mine in our little town of 12,000 people that I went to high school at play it twice, and I'm like, I got to do it now. There's no excuses. I got to play this game now.
So have you ever applied for the CBS Survivor?
I've not. No. Mm-mm. No.
And so was
just based on percentages.
And so what was it just like, hey, I want to do this. This is a shot to just try it out and see what it's like. Was that kind of the motivator?
Yeah, I mean, that was the motivator for sure. I want to play a Survivor game. That's the motivator. I guess in terms of the logistics on how I presented myself to the production team and the casting team, it was more of a conversation of, let me name drop Brent as much as I can, because Brent's a likable guy. I know him personally. I've known him longer than anybody else here, even though they've seen him more recently. It's just like I had classes with him in high school. So like, if I name drop the nice guy, then maybe they'll put me on the show.
Have you had a chance to reconnect with Brent after your experience in Reelfoot?
Yeah, Brent and I talk once in a while. Yeah. I wouldn't say we're personal friends, but absolutely cordial acquaintances. I mean, again, I played soccer with his brother in high school. Really awesome family. I think I was at their house once in high school for something years ago, or a graduation or something. But yeah, I wouldn't say we're like super close. It was just more of a connection and just being friendly with each other. And it's like, oh, cool. We happen to be Facebook friends. I happen to see you're doing this cool thing. Let me do it myself and see if I can make the jury.
So you apply for Reelfoot, you get cast. What do you do to prepare?
I didn't get cast right away. It was an alternate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so when do you find out?
So I think they did the interviews end of August, September last year. I think was the timeline. I didn't get cast until right before the new year this year. So I knew I was going to be on the show right before 2021 hit. I'm sorry, 2024 hit.
So you have a good 6 months.
Yeah, I did. Yes, I did.
And so did you do anything during that time to kind of prepare for the experience?
No, I was too busy working a lot. I was transitioning from living in New England back to the Midwest, and was living at a temporary housing in Detroit. And then I moved to the Ann Arbor metro area a little bit after, but I've been grinding. I've had 14 different addresses in 8 different states over the last 4 years. So it was more of, I got to get to work. I got to do this. I need the PTO or the time off to be able to play this game. So right now I just can't focus on that. I need to work and actually get on the ranch and just play an honest game, because I was never going to not play an honest game. I mean, it was just more of, getting on the show, being there, being present, having the time to do it. And then honestly, laissez-faire, let's figure it out when I get there.
Yes, you had watched a good chunk of it, sounds like, the previous season, which was not Second Chance, but I should know the name of this. Surviving Reelfoot. Wow.
11.
Yeah, Surviving Reelfoot 11, Unfinished Business. There we go. I was like, boy, I should know the title of the season. I've done a lot of coverage. You watched a good chunk of Unfinished Business. What were your expectations or things that coming into the season like?
I honestly tried to not have too many. We talked a little bit pre-show about, just this interview, and that's kind of the same mentality I had going into that game. If I tried to plan too hard, and if I tried to kind of write a personal dissertation on how I was going to play a game with too many amendments to it, then I wouldn't play an honest game on my own. So I thought over planning would be a detriment to my game once I got into the actual, once I got like on the grounds, like playing against real other people. I mean, you can plan all day up X's and O's all you want, but like, you don't know until you get there. You don't know who you're playing against. You don't know how you're playing. You don't know what challenges are going to come up. You don't know where you're going to be strong. You don't know where you're going to be weak. So you can plan all you want, but if you don't perform and you don't find your niche, you're going to be one of the top 5 people voted out.
So you kind of already alluded and talked around this, but how did you want to play Surviving Reelfoot? What were your plans coming to the game about things you wanted to do or how you wanted to play or come across?
I played exactly how I wanted to play, I think, Steven. I played honest. I played fair. I was not an enemy to anyone. I think I tried to make personal and develop personal relationships during the game as honestly and genuinely, authentically as I could. I know that they did a lot of Meet Me videos, and we had a couple questions prior to getting cast too about, who are your Survivor heroes, or who do you think you'd play the game like? And mine were Ethan Zahn and Tom Buchanan from season 3 Africa. So like that threesome between, Big Tom, Ethan, and Lex growing up, that was exactly, if I were ever going to play Survivor, I wanted to play like one of the 3 guys in that alliance, just honest with each other, cunning, strong. You have, the old guy, the super athletic guy, but they're all humble. They're all from somewhere, but they're all different in so many ways. So I really tried to diversify the people that I was aligned with based on my weaknesses that I knew I would have going into the game. Because I knew I'd be a strong competitor from the very start. Type A personality, good in challenges. Not that great at puzzles, so I was kind of hoping to lean on other people to get me further in the game, and try to do that individually once I got to that stage. But I think the way that I wanted to play the game is exactly how I played it. I played it strong. I played it competitive, and I played it authentically. And I will not take away from how hard I played this game.
So you arrive at Reelfoot. Is there anyone that made an impression on you before the game beginning as you're kind of seeing the competitors?
Yes, actually, I was one of the last ones to arrive on the ranch. I think I was actually the last one to arrive on the ranch. I was, speaking with production. I drove myself from Michigan down there. A lot of people had flights and other travel plans, but I said I need an extra hour or two, and I was still there by call time. It was just like, I'm not going to be one of the first people there at 8 a.m. I just drove from Michigan down to the middle of nowhere, in one day. So, I mean, it's not a long drive for me, I'm a Midwesterner, but like just getting on the ranch, people thought I was production. So like, I'm walking up there with a backpack and a black shirt and black shorts. Not that I was like trying to be like, I didn't have a plan on my outfit going into just meeting the other players prior to being placed. It was more of I showed up last and I had all eyes on me, and it's a wide ranch, and I had a backpack on and dressed in all black with black sneakers. So what are they going to expect? What do people wear on most, theater sets and crew sets? Mostly black. So they thought it was production, so maybe, I don't know, maybe internally some of them thought I was, a camp placement, I don't know, maybe mole or something, or maybe someone that was a twist in the game early on or something. But yeah, I definitely had everyone in my tribe say when we were under the tarp for 48 hours for that thunderstorm that they thought I was in production. So my first impression was either super strong or not very.
So once the game begins, you are placed on the pink tribe, the Nunkana tribe. Talk me through some initial impressions of the people you're with in this tribe as a whole.
So we were all at the lodge. There were, all 10 of us. Green tribe is downstairs. Pink tribe was upstairs. And you all just we weren't told to tell each other's names yet. We still had our nicknames that were assigned to us prior to tribe placement from production. So you were just kind of looking around, feeling out people watching. If you're sitting at a restaurant, you're going to look around to see who's around you, right? So if you're sitting in a room and food's not involved and you're just sitting there with a backpack about to starve for an indefinite amount of time, you're going to try to size up your competition. That's what everyone was doing. I had my first impressions. I'm sure other people had their first impressions. I mean, but when I say I can't really remember too many of them, it's really because it was the rush of you're in the Hunger Games, you're about to be on a battlefield with a whole bunch of other people, you're going to rush towards weapons, and you just can't really think about that right now because your first impressions of people that aren't talking to you yet could be completely different from when you get in the game.
So let's get the game started. The game begins, your tribe arrives at your new campsite. How does that go?
We were absolute worker bees. I mean, it was a really solid first couple of first couple of hours before the first reward challenge. It was a great effort. Everyone was contributing. Some people had great ideas, other people had terrible ideas. But it ended up working because it was literally put to the test for 2 days, a couple hours after that. So, I mean, if it didn't work, it wouldn't have worked, and people would have opted out or quit the game or talked to a tribe handler. But somehow during a thunderstorm for 48 hours where a bolt of lightning struck our camp and blew up a tree and a half, like somehow one tarp over the head of 10 grown adults worked. And whatever we did in the first couple of hours worked. And that's actually a huge tribute to no one knowing each other, putting forth the effort, and really, really doing a great job in our first couple of hours. I mean, outside of Carl scrambling around and looking for a hidden immunity idol, like there wasn't really too many people doing a whole lot of gameplay in the first couple hours of the game. It was a solid team effort.
So Carl was openly looking for idols then?
Oh yeah, I didn't even try to hide it. Oh, all over the place too. I mean, we were all just kind of subtly going off, like, should we look here? Should we look here? Kind of thing, which is funny because a couple days later, we'll get into like exactly how Carl got that hidden immunity idol later, because you're welcome, Carl. But it's funny, like right after the rainstorm too, I'm like, there's got to be a fucking idol, or maybe somebody has found it already, and like no one's checking backpacks because like it's been raining for 2 days, and like everyone's backpacks have been emptied, so someone would have found something somewhere and told someone. So I just knew there was an idol in place somewhere, if there was one at all in camp. But like I was just like kicking my heels at the ground a little bit right under the tribe flag where Carl ended up finding it literally an hour and a half before that challenge was where we got that. But like it was a little bit deeper than where I was looking, but I'm like, my kick marks are still right there. Like this could have been mine. And I'm like, F, Carl, all right. So you're looking for it, you couldn't find it, then I gave it to you later on in the game as a show of good faith about how honest of a player I am, to try to prove it. And you still got it anyway. It's like, all right, some people are better winners, some people are just born to lose. That guy was born to get really lucky very early.
So talk to me about idols and advantages. Are those something you're actively looking for, or how did you want to play around them?
I was a little bit different. I was more of a unique case because Carl had a machete on the ground, and we were all doing laundry after the rainstorm on day 3 and in the morning. And I turned around and didn't know there was a machete in the ground and kicked it and blew my foot open. So I had to be treated for that in the game because of his hilarious ability to just do everything around camp. No one knew where the machete was. There was no machete safety whatsoever. Like zero machete safety whatsoever.
Oh no.
None. Not around him. Around everyone else, it's like, okay, guys, we're going to put the flashlights and this and the machete in the sheath over our tarp in front of our camp, and this will be its home. And of course, that no one ever followed that. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I never put it back there, but like, at least it was in a sheath and it wasn't like thrown into the ground where someone else could make the same mistake that I did. So I was playing on an injury for the better part of a day and a half.
How bad of a cut was it?
It wasn't bad. It was superficial. It just bled in a few different places. It was just random cutting, and then just everything being mud. I didn't wear shoes for a few days just because I didn't want moisture to soak up my feet. And then you had athlete's foot, and I just wanted dry feet. That was kind of my goal there.
Well, yeah, the season I played, a person, I know Pete shared the story with people in the game. I don't remember if it was your tribe, the other tribe. I had a person on my season cut his hand really deep with a machete at night, went to the hospital, got stitches, came back, played. like a month later, he sends a photo to our group chat. Hey, look, I'm getting ligament surgery. We're like, oh my gosh, dude. He's like, yeah, it was hurting a lot. I just toughed through the pain. You're like, dude,
what is wrong with these people?
This is the love of the game. We're gonna sacrifice our the use of our
love of the
for.
game or crackhead energy. It's got to be one of the two, right?
I mean, he was Canadian. Who's to say?
Could be a combination of both. They really like their hockey up there.
Yeah. So in those opening hours as you're working in the camp, did you have any conversations with people that stood out to you, or is there anyone who's just like, oh, I like this person, I think maybe I want to try working with them down the road?
Yeah, definitely. I think initially just the people that were, the stronger guys, we all just kind of happened to be walking up the trail towards up the trail towards Tree Mail.
Mm-hmm.
How's that for alliteration? But yeah, we were walking up the trail towards Tree Mail. And it was just Maddie P, myself, and Carl. And I'm just like, guys, I don't want to be a victim of a women's alliance if it happens. You see it in every show. It's talked about. Can we at least, on principle, no matter what happens after the first couple of votes, just if we hear something about, a women's alliance, let's talk about it and try to nip that in the bud. And but that was so early. It was so superficial. Everyone's making promises they can't keep. But that was probably the first conversation I had was when Maddie P, myself, and Carl were out looking for dry firewood that first couple hours in camp. Because it rained the night before. I mean, like, there was nothing dry. I swear. It was a difficult first few days on Reelfoot. I mean, Hornbeak was not dry until after I left the game.
Did you have camping or outdoor experience prior to Reelfoot?
Yeah, plenty.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was easy for me.
You kind of knew what you were doing then.
Not the survivalist stuff. Like when I met Frank, one of the tribe handlers, and absolute veterans of the game, and I think a lot of other reality shows, like this dude is an absolute master. He's teaching, he taught apparently some of the people in the Redemption tribe how to like build a chair on a whim. And they said the tribal council area, this is hearsay, so I might not be accurate. Please don't fact check me on this, but they said a lot of the furniture in the tribal council area Frank built, just from a season that he played like 2 or 3 ago or something like that. So I'm like, I can be in bad conditions all day long and suck it up, but like I don't think I could ever be a survivalist to the point of I'm gonna be in a luxurious state of hating where I'm at right now.
So you have your first reward challenge, and this is the Quest for Fire challenge. How does this challenge go for you?
I was on the back end of it. The puzzle, honestly, Green Tribe solved it so quick. I didn't really get a chance to try to compete in that challenge. I was on the last leg. So just because Okina figured out the puzzle in like freaking wicked record time, they were kind of already halfway through the challenge. You see that again later on in the second Tribal Council Immunity Challenge. With the stretcher, that's true. The stretcher challenge. I mean, it's kind of a longer version, multi-staged, elemental game like that challenge. But no, they were just too quick off the gate. They were just too quick. There was no way we could have caught up. We caught up ground after we started moving the fireballs around, which was a lot of fun. But no, like they were just too far ahead. They solved the puzzle too quick. We just couldn't catch up. That's all there was to it. They were just the better tribe that day in the first phase.
So before we get to the first outpost visit, I have a couple more kind of questions about the advantages of the game or advantage or twists. One thing you learned is that redemption is in play. What did you think of that when you first learned that, okay, players voted out, at least one person will have a chance to get back in the game? I
thought I wouldn't have to worry about it because I would have made the jury just based on tribal contribution. In full honesty, it was in the total back of my head. And I knew it existed, and I knew the people. We kind of guessed who might have been there. After a couple challenges we won, and a couple of the Green Tribers got voted out. So like we were just kind of guessing who might still be there. Oh, there's no way this person would do it. Oh, for sure this person would do it. But no, we didn't know for sure who would be there. I didn't really think about it too much either, just because I thought I'd be a little bit further in the game than I left the game. But it was in the back of my head. So for me to honestly have an opinion on that, I just didn't at the time.
You also have fire tokens in game. What are your thoughts on those?
Whatever the tribe needs, they can have mine.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. We were losing too much. Obviously the first reward challenge came with an extra tarp, and we knew there was rain on the way just because we all had cell phones that could predict the weather in the region of the world that we were in. But yeah, having that extra tarp would have been money for our tribe. I think we would have done a lot better in the first couple of days with reward challenges, because after that first loss and then having the rain and then competing again after that, it was brutal. And I think production actually had a TikTok that
oh yes, it's a great moment. I should rewatch that in preparation for this, but
I did a little show prep for you, so I think my words are: this tribe is absolutely apathetic right now, and it's distasteful, and people need to pick their head or get their heads out of their asses. Is I think my exact quote. Yeah. So
I think it's like this video called "It's All About the Love."
Yes, yes, which they should do, which they didn't do. But after we strung together 3 straight wins like that, they should have done a 2.0, the remix version, because all of our interviews after that, there's a video. I had a tribe handler do a confessional with me holding. He's like, "Do you want to go?" I think it was Trevor or something like that. But like, "Do you want to go talk about this somewhere else?" And I'm holding the immunity or idol, and I'm like, I'm so happy. This was after the stretcher challenge, and there was a lot of love after we won, and there was a lot of vitriol when we weren't. So
it just took 4 losses like any other
game. What was that?
It just took 4 losses, then you won.
Hey, we made a smart decision on our first tribal, and then we won 3 straight. It's just basic math to me in my head, like not even thinking about other aspects or game changes moving on from that. In a lot of our heads too, it was just like, okay, let's just, we're going to upgrade by downgrading kind of thing. We'll lose numbers, but we'll get stronger, and they'll have to sit someone out. So like, we'll actually be able to use stronger players in physical challenges this early. Don't get me wrong, Deb's a great person and I love her, but like she cost us time on a couple challenges. And I love her to death. Like personally in the game, we had a lot of good heart-to-hearts in the game, but just physically, I would have loved to play with her later in the game if we made it that far. Like she would have been a really close ally of mine, I think. Like we got each other very early. Not that I made it like super outward or anything like that. I mean, I think everyone kind of knew that she was on the outs, just unfortunately. And again, it sounds kind of mean saying it now, but like we needed to win. I mean, we had 9 other people that wanted to win too. And I know she did. Like, I know she did. I know she wanted to win, which is why I thought like at the individual phase, I would have loved to work with her, but it was just too early to try to do too much backstabbing. That early in the game, at least for my game. So I didn't see any other option at that point in time. Plus the people I was voting with in that vote, it was her or nothing really. So I didn't really have a chance to like try to save her. But then we won 3 straight. So I guess, arithmetic is arithmetic and math is solid. Believe the science.
Yeah, so you lose this first challenge and you have the first outpost visit. Blake and Carl are selected to go from your tribe to the outpost. What happens when they come back?
I thought they were honest. I think there was a little talk about like maybe skimming off a couple fire tokens for the items, but honestly, at that point in time too, it's just we were more concerned about the elements and weren't going to test anything. We were just happy to have like some sort of second place trophy of some sort coming back to the camp, because we were on a losing streak. So having something that someone brought for us back to camp after a challenge we lost, I think was the only thing we were really thinking about too hard. No one really overthought it around camp. I don't think it wasn't a main conversation piece. It was more talked about like, hey, do you think maybe Blake skimmed a fire token or 2? Like, no, it wasn't about that. It was just more, okay, well, we got something. All right, we got to win now. Like that was the mentality. It was exasperation more than anything else.
So before we get to kind of that night one, the storm and all that stuff, how are you feeling kind of as you're closing out that first day?
Disheartened. Okay. But just based on the team's performance, I felt like I was in a very strong position for my personal game at that point in time. I thought I had a strong alliance of 5 different people I could work with. I thought I had at least one person who could be my ride or die. I had relationships with a couple people in an area I had just moved from, literally blocks away from where I used to live in Massachusetts, with 2 people. So I thought that geographically and culturally, I had connections. I was talking to literally everyone. So I thought at some point I could work with a combination of any of them really. But when you're voting so quick and you don't really have time to play the game because you're stranded under a really tiny tent with 10 grown people for 2 straight days, it's really hard to play the game. So there wasn't a whole lot of, at least from my point of view, it's like, I'm going to go with the people I know, the people I trust, at least for the first vote. When the weather clears, then we'll play the game.
Mm-hmm. So
that makes sense.
Let's talk through kind of like, and I'll bring up a quote from Nate saying like, Nate was in the power position at the day one, come back and play the game, you'll do good, man. And I want to kind of dig into this, everything you just talked about here. So first you said like, I feel like I have a ride or die. Who's that person at this point?
That was Blake, definitely.
Okay.
And I didn't think so too. I guess maybe when you go back to the holding area of the Hunger Games, of the upstairs of the ranch on Hornbeak, you know, you're picking people out. I was sprawled out across the floor. I had gotten no sleep. I had come off of closing a shift and then drove straight down first thing in the morning down to Tennessee. And then the next morning I was in the game. And then it rained for 2 days. I didn't sleep, honestly, for 4 straight days. Like, I was exhausted. So I needed to try to, if I happened to accidentally fall asleep at some point and gracefully finally got some, like for 20 minutes, afternoon after our, one of our immunity challenges before the eating challenge, it's like, I finally got to sleep for 20 minutes and I swear to God, it felt great. But if that would have happened earlier and people were playing the game and talking and maybe the weather broke, like, I wouldn't have anybody to talk to. So it was a really early goal for me to try to establish someone as a ride or die if I could, because that doesn't happen naturally. Like it's not something you can plan for. It's like you either like one of 9 to 19 other people or you don't, and there's just no chemistry. But Blake and I had a very early, very early alliance, which you wouldn't have guessed, because the way I saw him in the holding room, I'm like, oh God, this is this hot guy who's probably a bartender somewhere in Chicago or a big city. He's like dressed to the nines. He's, you know, not talking to anybody. He's not making jokes. He's very stoic. I'm like, I would not get along with this guy in the real world. But once you get into the game, it's like, this dude's my ride or die. And the people from Massachusetts too, you know, Jeff and Sandra, you know, we're in the Boston suburbs where I lived. You know, I lived in Tewksbury. I think one of them lived in Revere and the other one was down by Seaport. But just having that geography in common with 2 people who want to play with you too, and who played well with you together. I mean, Jeff and I crushed a few challenges together, you know, and Blake is great at challenges. So I'm like, and then Jordan came along, and then her and I kind of had a really nice commonality, a couple good discussions. We're like, I could play with you, but didn't really say a whole lot. It was more just kind of more of a nonverbal understanding more than anything. I think there's a picture on the Facebook page of one of the early days of me still wearing my tank top, which I still can't find. It's probably back at Non-Kana Camp, but like there's just a picture of us sitting by the fire and like my head's down and she's, you know, her head's up like playing with a stick or something. We had a really good human relationship in the game too. And that's another person I'm really disappointed I didn't get to work with later in the game. So like that was my 5. I mean, I just kind of enumerated the 5 people I thought, including myself, that if we get one person out, if we can drop one, it will at least be 5-4. And mathematically we can, you know, work from there. And then 3 of the next 4 people voted out were people in that 5. So in my head, I'm thinking, well, fuck guys. Like if you wouldn't have gotten me out, we'd have numbers right now. We'd be fucking crushing this game, you know? So that blindside hurt. Like that hurt. And personal story too, the next morning, the morning after I was voted out. So the same time slot, just 24 hours later, I hear a voice downstairs and I wake up and it's Jordan's voice. I run downstairs. That was my alarm clock. I was going to sleep in. That was my alarm clock. I run downstairs. We make eye contact. She looks at me. I look at her. And then we just start laughing. And that was it. So, I mean, just my relationship outside of the game with Jordan, I got to spend a couple days with her too. I mean, I just on a human level, I got along with these 4 other people. And I just for the game of Survivor and for Reelfoot and the production team, just having having just the grounds to do that, just the ability to get people together and make real long lasting friendship. I mean, it's a mantra, and it's almost an ego that Reelfoot has. It's like, we're a family, and there's a lot of us, and there's a happy birthday all the time. I mean, it's a family. And you know what? I'm just like, okay, yeah, whatever. It's a family. It was an RA for 60 people. I've been in team sports my whole life. We're all family, right? But you get there, you do something else. It's like, no, a couple things change you. Like having that lightning strike in our camp at full strength with 10 people, that changed 10 different people at one time. We were all naked for basically 2 days drying our clothes. Like that will change 10 people in a very quick amount of time. And it's not, I don't know if it's been talked about a whole lot on any of these podcasts that you've done, because admittedly, I haven't really watched a whole lot. I'm still kind of bummed out and going through the growing pains of losing. But yeah, it does change people. There's a really real human element to what Amos and Pete and everyone else on that staff do in Hornbeak. They do a great job. They facilitate family and through the elements, it's build you down or break you down, build you back up almost mentality. And it's kind of like that. They build a really good environment for people to become friendly with each other. So when my alliance turned on me in the game, yeah, it took me a few weeks to kind of get over that on a human level. I'm not going to lie. I know it's just gameplay and stuff, and I hugged everyone on my way out, but like, there's no way I could have faced those people in the game again. And that's kind of why I opted out of Redemption. There's absolutely no way I could have been like, I'm going to work with you now after that. There would have been no way. And I was not going to play a dishonest game and try to mess around with other alliances and be vitriolic and, be the Darth Vader of the group or anything, so I'm really happy for the human relationships I made in the game that I can, pursue after the game.
Yeah, talking about these experiences, for me, like I've always equivocated this as kind of like a summer camp experience. You go to summer camp for a week and you have this really intense experience with all these strangers.
Fucking violent summer camp.
Yeah, but it's my best equivalent I'm kind of putting, where you have this very short, intense experience with a bunch of strangers, and I don't feel like you get that as an adult that often to have that kind of experience anymore. You kind of walk out saying, wow, I've learned a lot about myself. I've made new friends. I've pushed myself in all these new ways. I think it's really cool.
So Chuck Palahniuk is one of my favorite authors. And if you actually read the book Fight Club, which the movie adaptation was actually after the book, and Chuck Palahniuk is a brilliant author. Chuck Palahniuk writes in the airplane scene of Hunger Games. Wow. of Fight Club about just having like, there's no yaya sisterhood of the traveling pants for men. Like there's no group of willingly grown adults, adult men that will almost give away their life to a bunch of strangers all at once. And I can speak for 4 others on my tribe. I can't really speak for the other 5 on the other tribe, but like this was men crying. This was men having breakdowns. This was men learning and going to war together and having just having kind of a battle bond together. And our women had it too. My God, you look at the medicine ball challenge, the way Jordan just competed against Trinica. I mean, that's still like, if you want to talk about reality show porn, it's just watch those two go to battle with each other. I mean, that's what you come out for. It's those battles that we haven't slept in 4 days. We haven't eaten shit. Let's watch these 2 women just go at it and go to battle together. That was awesome. That was so much fun. It was such a timely challenge for our tribe too, coming off, 2 wins in a row and or a win and then getting that one before the eating. I mean, it was going to battle. I don't necessarily mean like men have that bond, but like just all 9 of the 9 other people with us, we went to war together. And when I say we went to war, it was the elements. It was every battle. I flipped a freaking kayak in our first immunity challenge. I mean, it's like everyone's going to have a moment and everyone's going to shine bright if you stay, long enough. And if you don't, and you just got to come back and try again. I mean, it's a different game and you don't know until you get out there.
Talk to me about that first night with the lightning storm.
Awful.
And the rainstorm.
Awful. Just, we built the shelter. We did a great job. And again, I don't want to undersell just the team effort on building what we could with what we had in the short amount of time that we had before that storm hit. And then, you know, you had 10 grown bodies literally cuddling each other in different forms. I mean, Blake and I were laying together. Jeff and Sandra were laying together. I couldn't see past them because that was just the 4 on my side of the tent. It was too freaking dark. I couldn't see the other side of the tent, so I didn't know what the pairings were over there. But, I mean, it was literally body heat right next to each other. None of our clothes are dry. We're all sharing jackets. You know, all of my entire wardrobe was left at non-Kana camp after I got voted out. My poncho was, my sweatshirt was, I think my sweatpants were. Like, I was sacrificing everything in my bag so people would have some ground to like maybe keep dry for a few minutes, you know. And I was hoping the weather would break and just use body heat through the night, compete, win a few challenges, maybe get warmth through a reward. You know, I thought there were greener days ahead, and then the next day happened. You know, you assess the damage, see a 3.5 blew up, you keep losing. It's like, oh, fuck, that didn't work out. That was not a good strategy on my part. Now I have Jordan's shirt. I have a production member's pair of shorts because mine got ripped, and you would have seen parts he didn't want to walking around camp for the next couple of days. Oh, it snagged on something during the weather evacuation. Yeah, there was no way I was going to play the game. You know, it would have been censored on any of the streaming. Yeah, like everything was, all my shorts were completely ripped. My pants were on the ground somewhere below someone's butt in camp. You know, like you did what you could for the night, not thinking about the consequences of later in the game. So, like, you know, and I had Shauna's jacket for a day and a half too. So, like, it's just more other people came prepared, and me having no knowledge of what might happen out here in this game or seeing anything else or any testimonials or any podcasts from the game. I prepared the best way I could. It's going to be hot as hell. I'm going to pack like I'm going to the beach. And that just was not the way I should have done it. And all my clothes were sacrificed in the process. So, I mean, who's the real goat here, you know?
So let's play 2 what ifs or what you would have done differently. What would you have worn or brought into the game differently with the knowledge you know now?
I would have packed for winter.
It gets cold.
Yeah. Underrated. You know, it's like it's different from when I lived in Fort Lauderdale, where you're in a pair of sandals and whatever you wore for your boxers is the night before, and you let your dog out at 6 a.m. with the sun still down, and you come back to the apartment and you're dripping wet from sweat. It's different, you know, it's a different kind of humidity, different kind of nights, different kind of mornings. It's cold until it's not, basically. Was not prepared for that at all. Didn't pack well enough for it. Between all my moves too, I didn't even think I don't think I even have the winter clothes to even pack correctly if I were to do it again next week. But, you know, if I were to do it again, I'd definitely prepare my bag a little bit differently, my certain items a little bit differently. And yeah, I prepared for summer when you should have been prepared for getting wet. You know, you prepared for for beach season, but really it's a wet t-shirt contest.
My favorite activity before playing any game is checking the Google weather every 3 hours, saying, how bad is it going to rain? Is it going to rain? Is it going to rain? Please don't rain. Oh gosh, it's going to rain. Please don't rain.
See, but we all did that. I certainly did that, but I'm like, hey, if I can make it through that first night, I've got smooth sailing on the weather. I brought tank top and shorts, and everyone brought sweatpants. So they're going to sweat out their calories where I won't have to. I can conserve some just from sweat equity. On the reverse end of how you would think of what sweat equity would mean. But yeah, I'm just like, I'm going to save my sweat. I'm going to save what little hydration I can get in my body for a few days, you know. But and that just complete opposite. Totally outthought myself on that one. I completely admit to not packing correctly for the game. Not even close. Like, not even close. It was
my first game I ever played, you could bring a sleeping bag, and I brought the only sleeping bag I had, which was a cloth sleeping bag, which then got soaked and was wet my entire experience. And I was like, oh, I never thought about that. It's just I was sleeping in this wet sleeping bag my entire time there, and it was like
collecting water. Yeah, exactly. You gotta bring a long jacket, tuck it into some snow pants. You know, bring some of those, you know, giant rain boots that you see in Seattle.
Yep.
I mean, that's how you got to pack for your cold weather gear. And it was sandals the entire week and shorts and other people's clothes.
Second hypothetical for you. Do you think things would have gone better if we started on the Kina tribe versus the non-Kana tribe?
I'd rather not speculate. I thought I could have done better on non-Kana, and the next game I play I want to keep that as fresh in my mind as possible so I can use it down the road. I thought I probably would have played great with Hannah. We had a couple conversations together when I was going back for medical treatment after, the Carl machete foot incident. So like I ran into her a couple times. It's just not through a challenge or anything else. Just like we happened to be passing the trail at the same time doing something for the game. So I thought I could have worked well with her. She was also at my station during the stretcher challenge too. And I tried my best to talk to her and Charlie the entire time. And Charlie was the other one I probably thought I could have worked really well with in the game. Definitely just based on having the conversations Charlie and I did at the fire token table. And, if you look close enough at the medicine ball challenge, we were trying to play a little strategy with each other when we matched up for the second time. So there was definitely forward thinking in my game about working with people on the other tribe, but placement, I mean, it's not even worth it to speculate right now. There were definitely people as the game went on that I thought I could have worked well with later in the game as we were in the game. But again, that's like, 10 people in a room upstairs on the ranch in Hornbeak. You have no idea until you get out there.
Yeah, so that night you have the lightning hit your tree. You're evacuated to kind of the main site where you get to lay on a nice hard porch the rest of the evening. Anything else you want to talk about that?
It was very cold. Yeah, buggy, cold. Someone said a snake was in the area too. We had no idea about the rattlesnake in Okina camp at the time, but like someone said a snake was on top of the lodge, and I'm like, oh, all right, great. So we have the elements even sitting on the porch waiting for the weather to die. And because we were evacuated too, when we walked back to the camp, they're like, oh, great. Now it's time for another challenge, and then another challenge, and then another one. So like there was no sleep that second day, like none. Going into the third day, like I said, I think afternoon. If I had to guess with my, sundial, I would have said maybe like 4:00 in the afternoon is when we all got like 20 minutes of sleep. That's it. While Jeff was going and eating half of the yogurt that he brought back. But, but at least we got sleep. So, I mean, you kind of weigh your luxuries at that point in the game. It was awful. Yeah, it was bad.
Honestly, like,
and not having clothes either, personally, for the tribe, it sucked. I keep talking about the tribe, but like personally, I was absolutely miserable. Not sleeping, the 2 nights prior to that, and going from work to a road trip. And just personally, I was so winded. It was, I'm surprised I had the effort to beat Charlie twice. Like so tired. It was brutal. It was awful.
And then you get back and everyone's like, how's your vacation? Like, well, was it a vacation? I don't know. Do I feel rest and relaxed? Not really.
I went to work that Saturday. So like, yep. Definitely that was a reality check of like, oh, maybe your body's not ready yet. Like take a day. You're in the car, then you're getting rained on and competing physically and not eating. And then you had a bar night after with a whole bunch of other people from the game where you're eating pizza and drinking too much at night with the production team. And then you're getting in the car the next day and then you're working the next day. So I didn't give myself a day. That was poor planning the entire show, but at least it'll help revise for the next time, hopefully.
So it's day 2. You have your second reward challenge. This is the vertical table maze, where you have to race out, retrieve balls from chests, and then have to solve the vertical table maze, but rotate every time someone drops. How was this challenge for you?
Well, I suck at puzzles, so I said, let me lead off. Let me run to a box and see if there's a ball in it. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to add on that. We just sucked at the puzzle. Well, yeah. And we sucked at organizing the numbers. Like I tried to be like, okay, box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4, box 5. There are 3 different cubbies in each one. So 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, and so on. Like you get the formula I'm kind of building. And there was no communication on any of that with anybody. It was just like, hey, what were you at? I was at 2-2. No, well, is 2-2 on the right or the left? Oh, I did 4-2 then. Oh, so we did that one twice in a row. 2 people in a row. Okay, no. The communication was just awful. And then, I mean, I thought the great equalizer was the puzzle, but like, we just couldn't get the puzzle right either. I mean, again, it was just like, they were quicker on the puzzle than us the first couple of days. Let's just be honest. It was just, they were I don't know. They were, I call it the Packers. They start off strong but never win. You know, like.
Well, what's nice about the game is even someone's all the reward challenges, it's not an immunity challenge. You're like, it's the consequences are lighter.
Yes and no. I think there's a great stratifying element to the early reward challenges where people kind of play the game without playing the game.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is a lot of it's window shopping and just visualizing and just, okay, this person sucks at this, but they're good at this. I don't know. I feel like the first couple of reward challenges before you actually get into the immunity section of the game is really helpful. Like, annoyingly, because if you're an impatient person, it's just like, can we just fucking vote people out already? Like, I'm so sick of this person. But on the flip side too, it helps kind of stratify people's strengths and weaknesses a whole lot more than what you would get if you just jumped right into starting to vote people out. So I think the human element of the first couple of days and first couple of challenges is super helpful because people kind of find out who the other person is in their tribe. You know, you can talk all day, you can build a fire, you can. You know, Shauna was a killer on the fire. She was a killer in the ball challenge, the medicine ball challenge. I mean, that chick's a killer. She's good. Like, I saw that early, and that's why I put a target on her back for the second vote, for the same reason that she put one on mine. So, like, I mean, that's just early gameplay. You certainly see each other in an element that you haven't seen every minute of every hour of the day prior to that half hour to hour and a half that you're competing with and against each other. It totally adds to the game. I wouldn't change that portion of the game whatsoever. Like, it really helps people learn each other.
So even though your tribe loses, you and Sandra are chosen to go to the outpost with Charlie and Tony from the other tribe. Talk to me about this experience.
I was trying to sweet talk Charlie and Tony into working with me later in the game because I knew Sandra was in my alliance. Well, at the time I did. I knew she was in my alliance, and I'm like, okay, we went into it going, let's try to work with them. There might be a swap soon. Like Tony, I was a wild card to me. Like, Charlie and I kind of had a conversation prior to the game in the holding areas where no one knew what tribes we were on. So Charlie and I kind of had a decent initial like hi. So I'm like, oh, I can work with you based on the hi. You know? Tony, I didn't really have a feel for. I actually considered him my main competitor physically on the other tribe. So working, like, I didn't get the chance to spend time with him outside of the game either because I left and went back to work before he was done with the game. So a missed opportunity, complete missed opportunity. But I went into that thinking with Sandra too, like, let's try to lobby for some more fire tokens, maybe grant us a little bit of some leniency from the other tribe, or at least work well with these two people that we can do later in the game. But let's be honest about what we bring back. And then we happen to bring back, you know, the little tiny scroll that was a hidden immunity message.
Yeah, so talk to me about that. So you buy this hidden...
That's all we could afford. Like,
did you know
everything had a value.
Did you know it was a clue, the hidden immunity idol?
I had a feeling, but you don't know. I haven't played these live reality games, so like in my head, that was the only thing I thought it could be. So for me, at the time, in that specific moment, I kind of knew it was that. However, if I open it up for the tribe and I let Sandra read on purpose, because I didn't want to be like the type A male reading the go race to find an immunity idol together and let me compete against you. I had Sandra read it, and I literally sat on the log in front of the fire and just let 8 people scramble for it. I mean, it was a tribe decision.
Yeah, so Jordan posted a comment earlier saying I wouldn't have shared this with the scroll with the whole tribe.
I wouldn't have either, knowing what I know now about the game. I definitely wouldn't. I would have actually tried to make Sandra closer with me in that. But like, how can you lie about currency too? Like, our whole tribe knows we're limited to, I think it was like 6 fire tokens at the time, and I think that one cost 4, maybe it was 4 and 2 or something like that. And I had already given mine up once, got another one, and then I gave it up again. So like, my currency is what the other tribes' donations were at that point. So like, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, like, I know people see me already as maybe a physical threat. I know I strategize too early. I'm good around camp. And, you know, I think I have a positive review from most people, you know, according to Nate earlier, like, apparently I did. So I was doing something right at some point in this game. But yeah, I just didn't in my head ever consider once being unloyal to the people I was trying to win with.
So Yeah, so Sandra chimes in, no way to hide it. We only had 4 tokens and came
Yeah,
back with
Sandra.
0.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we came back with So maybe 1 was left over. I forget the math, but it's like if you already have a very small amount of set currency, then you don't want to lie to the tribe about that when you come back with none of that currency. So we didn't get anything. What were the fire tokens? I don't know.
Yeah, and then Carl,
you know, it's like what do you? There's no. It's like just in that situation. There's no. It's a lose-lose for me personally. But maybe somebody else wins and tries to pay it forward down the road. But that just didn't happen, and that's okay. It's not a team sport. It's an individual game. But I played the first part of the game like a team sport. And I'm super happy Carl got it. Like, I mean, if any dude tried harder to get it,
he appreciates it.
But like, you're welcome, bro. Thanks for voting me out next. It's just like one of those things. When you try to pay it forward, it's a game. I mean, no one remembers the small details. But
so you and Sandra were completely in agreement, like, hey, we gotta share this. There's no way to hide it. This is too transparent. Or this is too obvious.
Well, we didn't know what it was. But yeah, with the limited amount of fire tokens that we had, we thought it would be in the best interests of both our personal games, us as an alliance, and just for the tribe in general, just to be like, for the same reason I brought up, the first time, when the first group duo went to the fire token exchange, like they brought something back to the camp. We're happy. We're very happy. We're so happy. So like, I wanted to continue that trend. So if there's a scroll and someone finds it, I don't know, maybe it's like your tribe just won a cheeseburger lunch and you can have 1/8 of a cheeseburger and maybe 2 French fries. It would have been worth it too, because you don't know what's on that scroll. You have no idea. And it just happened to be
Did you have to open it back at camp, or could you have opened it on the walk back, read it, and said, all right, and then decide whether you'll share it when you get back at camp?
That stipulation, I can't remember. I think verbally we were told that we couldn't open it until we got within the borders of our camp, which I think was a hint. But again, I Sandra had it the whole time, so I couldn't look at it. So
I'm trying to think of like nefarious things you could have done. Like, is maybe and ideally, like you want to share, but let's say you only share it with your core line. So you share it with you, Jeff, Jordan, Sandra, right? So I think in your ideal world, it would only be with you 5, maybe.
And Blake,
and Blake. Okay, there we go. And maybe what you do is like, you say to this tribe, oh, there was an extortion advantage they played. They stole all our coins. We have nothing. Life is terrible.
I would have never have thought of that. I don't even know what an extortionist advantage is. And is this in some other game or something?
Stuff up, right?
Like I don't watch enough reality TV to even have the wherewithal to be that creative. Like I would have never thought about doing something like that.
Yeah. Sandra says, I think we could have opened it, but we didn't for some dumb reason. So
yeah, I don't remember. Thanks, Sandra, for following along. I miss you, babe. I love you.
So okay, so like ideally, if it's not you, who like is your goal, your ideal would have been to have someone in your alliance get that idol, right?
Ideally, but I thought I was working with Carl. Like I thought Carl and I had
not working with at this point.
Honestly, I thought my biggest competitor was Shauna, 100%. Like I just thought she was the other me on the tribe. I thought she was the absolute foil to how I was playing the game within our own tribe. She played a great game.
And so you get back to camp. Sandra reads this note. As soon as you kind of hear like, oh, this is an idle clue, what's going through your head?
I'm like, oh, fuck, I could have had it myself. And then when they found it where they found it, I'm like, fuck, I was literally just digging there 2 hours ago. So it was just more like, is all of these intersecting inner dialogues. Because if you watch the only reality show I watch, which is Survivor, you see it below the flag once or twice, every 8 or 9 seasons, so that's of course one of the obvious places to look, that and tree mail and like crevices and rocks and stuff. But like I was literally digging in between the sticks where all of our the lightning tree basically, and like kicking my foot around and just like trying to see if something would come up, like a string to pull or something, just like nothing hit. I guess I was like maybe an inch or two superficial from where I needed to be or something like that. But yeah, it was very, very disheartening to learn. A lot of my instincts were so right in the game. We're just so spot on. Who put votes on me in the first immunity idol, I was spot on. Why they did it, I wasn't, but like just all of my instincts in the game were absolutely vindicated based on the next few vote outs. And 100% just like from hearing testimonials from other players after the game when it's fresh, just saying all these things about the game, nothing necessarily that has to do with me, but it's like, well, everything that you have in your head would have worked if you were still in the game. But everyone has that. 19 other people have that, or 18 other people have that. Matty P's the only one that doesn't.
Yeah, he has no regrets. Maybe besides being voted out once, but beyond that, he has no.
Not
regrets.
Even one letter. The P. And we gave Matty P shit for like initializing himself in the holding. Oh, Matty P. Okay, who's this asshole? But he was such a sweet, tall Australian guy, and I'm like, he might be good in challenges, and like he was to a point. He was good, and apparently he was good on the redemption challenge. I hurt my foot, so I was never going to win that anyway. So I felt like I was right in leaving the game early when I did. I got to have pizza and a beer by noon the next day. I was happy about that.
Do you think you could have gone the vote? Do you think you could have been the one voted in instead of Blake?
Say that again one more time. I'm sorry.
So redemption, there was kind of 3 rounds. There was the endurance challenge, which
yeah, I had no idea. All I knew about was they had to put their foot on something and balance something, and he did it for over an hour, and I couldn't have done that. That's all I know about it.
That was stage 1. Stage
when
2,
I say I blacked out the game after I left, I pretty much blacked out the game after I left.
Stage 2 was a vote. So everyone voted for 1 male and 1 female competitor. The top name would advance to the next round. Blake was the male competitor voted over Jeff. Do you think you may have been able to get that spot instead?
If it were, I'll put it this way: if it were between Blake, myself, and Jeff, I think Jeff still would have been just neutrally. The dude's a competitor. I mean, his last immunity challenge, he won 3. He was 3-0 in the medicine ball challenge. I mean, I was 2-0. Shauna was 2-0. Like we had 2-0-1. I mean, like we had a lot of winners, but Jeff won the most. So physically, I don't want to go against the short, tiny, cut, ripped wrestler who, like, fuck that. So yeah, I think he still would have been the first one to go, just based on if it's a vote, just based.
Well, you're voting someone in. You're voting for someone to advance.
Oh yeah, yeah. Then I think I definitely would have been the next. Like I wouldn't, if I were anybody else, I would not have wanted to play against Jeff. So I would have voted me in for sure.
Okay.
Just because I would have lost easier than Jeff probably would have. Jeff he's a monster in these physical challenges.
How's your fire making skill?
Fire making 0, like none.
Okay, so then it was a toss-up between you and Maddie.
Yeah.
All right, so with Carl having this idol, and it's now a public idol, and Carl kind of does, I think, what you generally expect. It's like, this is a tribe idol. I'll play it for anyone. Like
he said that too. Together. He swore on some family members too.
Yeah, he swore on some family members. Do you believe this?
Yeah. Carl struck me as someone who was a very genuine guy who I didn't think had it in him to be disloyal. Maybe not to tell the whole truth, but I just felt like, not that I'm a kingpin or anything, like I want you to be loyal, but I just felt like loyalty. I felt like in terms of Carl's human constitution, I just consider him an extremely loyal person. Older guy in the tribe, kicked ass in helping build our incredible, and for what we had, luxurious 2.5 hours of building our structure. And just after that, dude was an absolute workhorse around camp, making fire, finding firewood, motivating us. It's like, oh, Carl's doing something. Fuck, I guess one of us has to get up now. Shit, all right, fine. Just like having Carl in camp, we thought would be annoying, but honestly turned out to be one of the most feared players in the team stage challenge. And I don't even want to know, like, I don't even want to probably even fathom of like going against him head to head in some of these challenges that we played in the team level. Like just head to head, him and I, just like, that'd be the last guy I'd fucking want to go one-on-one with. Like Carl he was a monster. And like earlier I used the phrase cokehead energy. Like this Carl is the epitome of what I mean by this dude puts his blinders on. He's the Incredible Hulk. I mean, he's the Incredible Hulk. Once he goes full Hulk mode, you can't go back. Like he's going to do what he says he's going to do. And if you stand in his way, he's going to knock you over, or at least die trying. I mean, he's a great teammate, just honest guy. I didn't expect him to be a dishonest or disloyal person, just based on how I knew him as a person, and even after the game too. And I won't get into personal conversations that I've had with Carl, but Carl is a very wholesome, ethical, incredible person, incredible human being, and I'm very grateful I got to spend a couple days with him in Tennessee. Like this dude is. Yeah, I was rooting against him hard, but after the game, I'm like, man, if there was ever a guy that deserved to win, just based on his heart, it's Carl. This dude cares. Like, he cares about people, he cares about life, he cares about animals, cares about his family. He dedicates games to people that are close to him. Lies about it, but like dedicates, certain things about his game that you believe him. He's a believable guy. And honestly, I do genuinely believe that in a different world, in a different tribe, in a different situation, I thought Carl and I probably would have been great together. Kicking down doors together, if it's in a different tribe together, probably.
So why do you think you missed each other in this game? Why do you think things didn't click?
Me.
Okay.
It's all on me. I'm the one who got voted out. So clearly I didn't do something right in the tribe. I was very competitive very early, and I talked about my devise in my Meet Me video, which was another stunningly accurate description of how my gameplay went here. I said I was going to play an honest game, play a team game, and try hard in challenges once we got to the individual stage, and hopefully make the final through your jury. And then one of the questions in the prompts was, if you got voted out early, why would that be the case? And I said, I think I'd have my hands in too many conversations and be overly competitive and strategic too quick, which is exactly what happened. And I know why I'm sitting here now. I'm not wearing a necklace around my neck, like I didn't even get the chance to compete for individual. Well, I did once, but the eating challenge when it was a try, but one person got individual immunity. But yeah, no, honestly, myself, the way I played the game, and honestly, some of it was, call it just blissful ignorance and not having the life experience of knowing that people play this way in real life. I thought that maybe they'd want to take an honest, loyal person to the end with them, kind of knowing that my odds of winning weren't really that high. Just kind of wanted to get as far as I could. So I just thought being as honest, as loyal, and as trustworthy as I could early in the game, and setting that standard for, this is who James is, this is how hard he works, this is how much he cares. I thought that would help get me into later parts of the game. But there's also balance to that too, that I absolutely did not have. Like, I cost my team a lot of time when I flipped that kayak, and I took full responsibility in that first immunity challenge, and I fully expected to get votes that day. I didn't expect them to come from where they came from, but like, I would not have been upset if I was more upset getting voted out second in our tribe than I would have been first. Like, I totally deserve to go based on losing that for my tribe. But like, that's how I presented myself, and that's how I still feel.
Do you feel that your tribe didn't trust or believe in how you're presenting yourself? Do you think that was its problem?
I thought people, I thought they genuinely, I unless I'm wrong, like I thought people genuinely kind of knew where I was coming from. But I also think that a lot of them handpicked. I had Jordan after the game tell me she didn't even know she was part of a 5-person alliance. So because of that early conversation that I had with her about like, hey, we're working together, but we're going to keep a distance, there wasn't enough communication between us to be like, hey, I'm trying to put something together that we can work together during the game and be subtle about it. And I didn't do that with her. And it's such a tragedy, because like, fuck, Jordan, I would have worked with Jordan deep in that. I love Jordan. I would have worked with her so deep in that game. Like, and it's just such a shame that even my communication, having the whole plan in my head was so clear, but trying to be the master manipulator at times in my first game probably wasn't the smartest first impression for people who have played all these games before.
It sounds like you had a plan. You're like, I like these 5, and you have stronger relationships on one-on-one within the 5. But it's like you never like had all like 5 of you standing together. It's like, yes, here we are all together. I like this group. I want us to be this group. It's like,
hey, if it were a 39-day game like it used to, that probably would have worked.
Fair, yeah.
But it's an very tiered, multi-dimensional 8-day game. So you got to pick and choose your spots. And my timing was just so bad, just so bad. And I know that now, but like going into the game, it's just like, oh, just do one thing differently. Be selfish about like one more thing, and you'd have a clean shirt. Like watch out for where Carl throws the machete into the ground. You know, just like one little like going away. I thought that's when they like, we're gonna get James out now, when I had to go get my foot bandage, and like it just it was more than that. And yeah, again, I'm not upset about how I played the game. I'm really happy with my alliance still right now, especially since 3 out of the other 4 got voted out almost consecutively after I left the game. So I feel very, very, very vindicated about the IQ of how I played Surviving Reelfoot.
So you have your last reward challenge today. This is that idle hands challenge. We're going 1-on-1 and trying to knock out the little thing for the pedestal. Do you remember who you go up against, and how does this challenge go for you?
Charlie was my one-on-one the entire time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, I saw I kind of monkey see monkey do it. You know, like I saw someone else like throw the ball up as high as they could and then whack at it. I'm like, all right, well, that wasn't that high of a toss. Wait till you see this hang time. And I just threw it up as high as I could. And I went after him, and it fell off before my ball, I think, was even on the down arc, you know. So it was just, just like, all right, I played baseball once. I can buy myself at least, 4 to 5 seconds to knock a ball down from an 18-year-old. I can do this. I can bully a little bit. Yeah, no, but that's not outside of like how I feel about Charlie as a just like in the game when you're one-on-one against someone, like that was a favorable matchup for me 4 different times in this game. Was Charlie against James, and James was 4-0. So like I'm not bragging about it. It's just one of those things where, strategically, you got to pick and choose where you can win. You got to pick and choose your matchups. And, people found the right time to vote me out. People found the right time to vote other people out. You just pick and choose the right time to vote people out based on your own personal gameplay. And I think finding that matchup with someone I knew I could beat, but having stronger people in front of me go and face their strongest people, like, Carl against Tony in the Medicine Ball Challenge was no thanks. No thanks. Someone else can go against Charlie. Charlie can run circles around me. I'm the fat dad of the camp. Like, no, Tony's going to run circles around me. But like when it came to Charlie and I, it's like, oh, I'm bigger than him. I'm older than him. I could probably beat him. But like, I'm not super confident because I haven't slept in 4 days. But like, this is the only guy on that tribe I can beat right now. So like, let's pace it enough, and hopefully they'll go guns blazing first couple of rounds, which is exactly kind of what happened. And then let me face off against, their 4th option or 3rd option, and not James against Tony round 1, because we had other better players on our tribe too. So why would I try to set myself up to fail in the first place when we, as a tribe or individually, like Jeff went 3-0. Shauna was unbelievable. Jordan won us valuable points. Jordan, that tie that Jordan had with Trinica, in my head, I'm like, babe, a tie is just as good as a win right now. Like you're bringing it over to, like, if we go through this route, it's like a batting order in baseball. If you go through the batting order long enough, like your stars are going to have multiple at bats. Yep. So having Jeff and Carl go a couple times, and Blake too, Blake killed it. Like even his second round where he lost, I mean, he was just a monster. And just it goes to the opposite version of the sweat equity that I described earlier, where these guys are gassed. So if we have enough good rested people by these last couple of rounds, like then these people are going to be stronger and kind of bring it home. So like that was kind of the mentality going into that. Use your strong players, fill in. But yeah, Charlie I knew I could beat him, and I hate saying that out loud because Charlie's a good friend of mine. But and I really, really love how far he went in the game. Like it was really awesome to see him go that far in the game. But I knew he could beat him early. That's really all it was about.
Comment from Sandra. She was constantly putting the sleeve on the damn machete after you nearly sliced your foot. So off.
Yep. Sounds about right. Well, Sandra was also very responsible, so that makes sense. That comment coming from her. I love Sandra. She's so great. I miss you, Sandra.
So you've lost now all 3 reward challenges. What's the vibe of the tribe like?
They made a TikTok about the vibe of the tribe. I don't think I need any. Yeah. I mean,
Okay, that's fair.
What else do you want me to say? Yeah, I mean, that was the vibe. That was the truest vibe, and nothing I can say could paint a better picture than how it was portrayed in 60 seconds. Like that's how it was. That was honestly, that's how it was. It was bad. It was bad. And like me being the type A competitive person I am, it's like I hate losing. And I know Carl hates everyone hates losing, but there are some people that are just more vocal about it, and I was definitely one of those early. 100%.
So at this point, before we head into your first immunity challenge, do you have what names have you heard thrown out at this point?
Before the first one?
Yes.
Okay, so before the dev vote?
Yes. Before the first immunity challenge, had any names
I think there was still somewhat of a feeling out process. Like in my head, obviously locked into the 5 people that or the 4 other people I thought I was working with. I think there were a few. Everything was hypothetical. I mean, I'm sure my name was brought up at some point too. It's just more of no one was willing to really kind of open up yet to paint themselves as a target, because they were for reward challenges early. They weren't for immunity. So like, okay, we didn't get a tar. We couldn't have any strategy anyway because we were too busy getting rained on and moved around from spot to spot. So like the lack of having conversations with people and human interaction, albeit extremely close in proximity, there really wasn't a whole lot of that early in the game. It was very just, let's stay warm. Let's just fucking get through this and not get killed and then, live to fight another day. Honestly, that was the early mindset. So there wasn't really a true first name, at least in my head, that I had.
Was there anyone you were eyeing as saying like, this maybe would be ideal for me, or players were like, I just don't feel close or know what's going on with that player at this
Honestly,
point?
that was probably when I was playing great. And I got that comment from Nate. Like, that's probably when I was at the best in my game. I wasn't really thinking that too far ahead. So I was thinking towards, if we win, we win. And so if we keep winning, we'll have numbers. So basic arithmetic suggests that if you have numbers of people on your team and you are beating the other team, you will move on further. So that's, in my head, that was just early stage of the game, basic arithmetic. There's going to be more pink than green if we keep winning. So let's just keep doing that.
So you have that first immunity challenge. Why don't you talk to me about the kayaking?
About the kayaking? Oh my God. So I have whitewater experience. I love being on the water. I've lived in, the Carolinas, coastal New England, and South Florida. I'm from the Great Lakes state. I've always kind of been around in water. So like for me, that it was just go faster than the other person, pick up a puzzle piece and come back, right? But normally the grade of kayaks and canoes and just, general rafting, things that float material for me are, different than what I used on a very still, thin lake that's super deep with no current or wake. So it's a little bit different. Your push off is basically going to be your balance in the boat. So what I did, instead of using the life jacket to put over my chest, I put it under me, to sit on. So I had to have a better pull on my kayak stroke, so I could pull quicker and, conserve energy and just do more efficient strokes and get to the other side. And hopefully, because I was going up against Hannah in that first leg, like I thought I could get there and get back by the time she got to the dock. Honestly, I was cocky as hell. Like I thought like this was going to be like, okay, James is really going to set the tone here. And that's what happens when you set that expectation for yourself in this game. You wind up flipping a kayak, which is great because Frank flipped his too. The production member, with all that survivalist experience, was the next one to flip his kayak. So at least I'm in good company. No, but I felt off. I felt so bad because we had lost so much already. It's just like, fuck, I'm putting the team on my back right now. I'm going to be Marshawn Lynch, hold my dick moment. Like, absolutely not. Just completely went against the wall. I was Matt Ryan in the freaking fourth quarter of the Super Bowl a few years ago. Like, I lost a 28-3 lead in 2 seconds, and it was awful. I felt so bad.
So this challenge does not end up well for your tribe. You all make it to the puzzle right as the other tribe finishes the puzzle portion of the challenge. And with that, you're going to the first tribal council the next morning.
Yeah, I think that was an easy vote for us. A couple names came up, but we really just all kind of consolidated around Deb. I wanted to get Sean out in that first vote just because I knew, strategically she might be a threat. And honestly, she might be mad at me for having commandeered her jacket without maybe the conversation about, oh, how about the rest of my clothes that y'all used for pillows and blankets and the tent for freaking 2 straight days. Also, when we were being evacuated, and I literally shouted back because I was the leader of that first kind of group of people with the flashlight that led people out during the evacuation. Hey, pull the backpacks in the middle of the tarp. I said it 10 times. We don't want our shit super wet in the morning. No one did it. My backpack was the furthest in the corner because during that entire storm, my butt and half of my head were getting rained on because they were out of the tents to make sure the rest of the tribe had enough room in the tent, which no one really did. But like that bravado act was pretty silly on my part. I should have just been comfortable, but I thought it would hold more salt, and I was probably too vocal about like I'm doing more for the tribe. But yeah, no, just like I thought Shauna was going to be mad at me about that. And, just kind of. You're delirious after not sleeping for 4 days, so you make decisions you wouldn't make in everyday life. So yeah, I thought that was my first target immediately. I need to get her out just because she was playing a very similar game to me at that point, and but had results too. I mean, she was playing great physically. I mean, in challenges like puzzles, mind games around camp. I mean, Shauna was great. She was an awesome competitor.
Who did you see that Shauna was working with that you were worried about too?
I thought no one. She came up to me after the. After one of the immunities, I can't remember, and she totally convinced me that she was on the outs, even though I knew she was the architect of putting 2 votes on me during Deb's vote. Like I knew that going in, but I thought that she was doing that because she wasn't part of an alliance anymore, and she just needed to be, kind of saved. And I'm like, girl, I know you put 2 votes on me, and you had other people do it, so you wouldn't have to do it yourself. Which maybe she did. I don't know. I didn't see the full vote, but like I called out Maddie P like right after tribal council. I'm like, why'd you put a vote on me? Then a couple days later, I'm like, it was Shauna, wasn't it? And then like I kind of cornered him a little bit, and with I think Jordan was with me too, but like I cornered him a little bit. And I made him say that it was Shauna's idea. So I knew that she was my main competitor, but it's so tough to diagnose those thoughts you have when you haven't slept in 4 days, and it's just like you just have these even interpersonal reactions and like the things you say in confessionals. It's like that's not me. Like what is going on here? Like this is not who I am as a bartender. Like I'm being way too competitive right now. Slow down, eat a freaking spoon of rice or something, dude. Like
so you haven't talked about at all is Kiri. What are your thoughts on Kiri?
Kiri and I didn't get along right off the bat. Kiri and I've gotten along great after the game, like really, really well after the game. Actually, at my tribal, you'll see a moment where she whispers into my ear. We had a hug, and last person I hugged on the way out too. She's like, I wish I got the time to meet you in the game and get to know you. And in my head, I'm like, damn it. But like, in all fairness, she had a long flight too, but she was a better sleeper than me. And like her layover, she had she slept for a little bit during the day on one of the first days or second day or something like that. And I don't know, maybe I had a long memory or a short memory about that. But yeah, I didn't really get to work with her too much. We didn't really see eye to eye on just kind of our personal goals in the game. And honestly, the timing didn't work out. But looking back, I'm like, she's a freaking silent killer. This is someone I should have been closer to earlier in the game. Like, this is someone who, if I were to play this game again, a person like that would be someone I'd want to be close to. And obviously, like, from my point of view too, like, I'd shut my mouth way quicker than I did in this game. Just you're tired, you haven't slept, you haven't eaten, you had lightning hit your camp in your head. It's just like, okay, we got to rebuild. Let's try to compete. Let's do everything so quickly so then we can relax and nap so we can be strong for the challenges. Instead of just gradually go. It was just too quick for me. Again, in a 39-day game, I think it would have been different. But most of us don't have that kind of time, including myself. But yeah, I played too competitive too fast and rubbed the wrong shoulders too quickly and completely predicted how I'd get voted out early in my Meet Me video. And I know myself. I knew my role in the tribe, and I didn't know it well enough to stay along for the very next event that happened, which was the tribe swap. Maybe things would have gone differently, but. Yeah,
That third night, did you get any? It sounds like you just didn't get any sleep then that third night.
No, none. That third night, none. Well, we were also on a high too. We had just won a couple immunity challenges, and before we really,
the third night is all right.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I'm wrong. I'm second night. Sorry,
Yeah,
second
okay,
night.
yeah.
You just lost the first immunity challenge. You're going to bed that night.
No, I didn't sleep that night. No.
Okay.
No, stayed up the whole night.
What, stay up all night just because of the cold?
I honestly, it's been so short ago, but like it's been so long ago. I couldn't. It could have been a number of things. It could have been the bugs. It could have been, I think Blake and I heard something bouncing around in the forest. So I think like he grabbed a flashlight and I grabbed the machete and we like checked out the forest for a minute to see what it was because it was like steady, and like we didn't want some, if it was a snake or something like that. Wolves, I wasn't too concerned about. Wolves are pussies, but like, I mean, if there was something actually like dangerous, like who knows? Maybe it's another freaking person camping out there in a very rural area. Like you don't know. And we haven't had fire in so long. So like you're literally using a flashlight and a machete to see if there might be danger around people close to you. So I think there was an element of just like, again, part of that was probably just elevated from not sleeping and just sleep deprivation and just like all your senses are overly heightened and everything else. But yeah, I mean, there was no real reason. I know Carl didn't sleep that night either. So, and I don't think a couple of us did. I'm envious of the people that got a couple nights sleep while they were there. Because they went longer in the game, so maybe I'll try to make it a point to sleep more when I'm in the game.
Do you think the game would have played out differently had there been no rain, or had you been able to sleep in those first nights?
I don't even want to. The game is what it is. It's too special the way that it was. I don't even want to try to hypothesize about how it was if something else happened, because it wouldn't be the game, and I would take away from other people's achievements if I tried to speculate how it would have improved my game based on weather. I don't know. That's just not fair to the other players and how they played the game.
So, was there any other strategy talk around this first round that you want to bring up for the dev vote?
No, I think honestly it was just more of, okay, this was the collective tribe's idea. It was a total blindside to see my name a couple of times. I knew Deb was going to put a vote on Blake anyway, so I was shocked it wasn't 9-1.
So you were expecting a 9-1.
I was expecting 9-1. Yeah.
Yeah, because Blake mentioned that he offered his name up as a decoy vote.
Yeah, and I was told that too. Yep. So that was all communicated. I thought it was a rock solid plan, and everyone was informed that needed to be.
So at that tribal council, you get 2 votes. Walk me through your reaction and what happens after this vote.
After the dev vote?
Yeah.
We can start winning. Yeah, I mean, we got back to camp and it's just like, okay, well, we did what we said we had to do. I mean, but the hardest part is fulfilling the second end of that deal. I mean, you did a deal, you voted somebody out for a specific reason, and that's to perform better in physical challenges. And if you didn't do that, then Deb's vote would have been a complete freaking waste for a lot of people, including myself, of somebody I could have been in the game longer with. So if that didn't pay off and we didn't go on a winning streak after that, then, honestly, if we would have lost more, I might still be in the game, because like maybe they would have needed physical players a little bit longer, like I don't know. Like it's again, that's the problem with speculating, is just, you just don't know, and it's just not worth it to. But yeah, no, after the dev vote, it was like, okay, we have one job, we got to win.
Well, I guess my question is more of, you get 2 votes. Talk to me, like, do you care about who voted
for you? That part,
you actually did
yes.
some things about that.
I was irate. I was very irate about having my position in the game and like how I internally saw myself among the numbers being called out. And in my head, I'm like, okay, well, if it were 6-4 in reality, despite what names were on the parchment, like I was thinking more of what the reality of the vote actually was. And if there were 3 people or 4 that wanted to put my name down, they weren't going to vote for me with 3 or 4. They were going to put 2 on me in case Deb pulls out, the magic rabbit and saves herself with her shot in the dark, which was a total possibility going into the game. They're going into that vote. So what are the people that have the interest in extending their games going to do? Put 2 votes on someone that would be the next person get voted out. So I was on an absolute freaking witch hunt to figure out who it was after I got voted out. And I called out Matty P. Like, I knew it immediately. He wouldn't look at me. He wouldn't look at me at the vote. He didn't say a word to me after. And we were pretty, cordial and casual at camp and stuff, but like, he wasn't near me. He wouldn't look at me. We didn't make eye contact. I'm like, okay, well, I got one right there. Let's find out who number 2 is. And I know he didn't come up with it on his own because he was playing the happy-go-lucky guy who didn't want to get in an alliance too quick. So, like, he was playing a freaking super smart game for that early. Like, Matty P was exceptional at the team level, getting through to the individual stage of the game. But in my head, I'm like, I total witch hunt, which is the complete opposite reaction of what I could have had, or should have had. But yeah, I was out. I was out for blood after that. But then we won a bunch in a row. Like that the very next immunity challenge was my absolute architectural beauty. Like, I loved being a key role in that challenge, especially at the. I don't know if I'm jumping the gun on your questions or whatever, but yeah, once we got to the next immunity challenge, the second one, it was incredible because like we had our stud, doing all the long running for us. Jeff was a freaking bunny rabbit. So like, of course we're going to use that in that role. And then Carl and I were like, okay, we're the strong guys. We'll be on the charades part. I'm extremely strong at charades. So I can kind of plan something around, working with Jeff, who, him and I had a personal relationship in the game too. So that's just someone I'm working with as sort of my vessel for getting whatever was written on the paper, across to the person who could actually do it. Jeff's smart enough guy. Like he's lives in the Boston area. I know what he does for a living. Like Jeff's a really cerebral human being, and he was great to play with. And I'm glad I was lucky enough to like be in his alliance at that point in time in the game. And then after that, just being the anchor, the guy who's sticking his tongue out, carrying, the stretcher back up to and then just having that blowout win. That was, if there was any part of the game that was euphoric for me, it was how long of a lead that we had in that game. And as it turns out too, they left Okina left one of their puzzle pieces back at one of the stations anyway, so they would have never finished the challenge regardless. So I mean, I don't know, it's just like everything clicked in that moment. I mean, Shauna and Matty P were great. We had a great caller. We had, the puzzle solvers were great. Jordan was excellent, even just searching the board when she was up there just to see if there might have been another fire token up there. I mean, that's when that challenge would have been like a desperation challenge for us, but the way that we all clicked and everyone had a role and excelled in it in the best way possible, it was like, I don't know, that's the closest thing to a survivor orgasm that someone can have, especially being the signal caller for the charades and then the head stretcher carrier guy. So not only are you the nonverbal guy, you're also the guy carrying the weight. So for me personally, for my personal individual achievement, that specific challenge was my masterpiece, and I'm really proud of it.
I feel like we've also, going to the third immunity challenge, I feel like we've kind of talked about the Steel Bacon challenge. Is there anything else about that challenge you want to bring up?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So Carl, I mean, I told Carl this, and Carl and I kind of had a fight because we were the mute people who had to do this charades message to Jeff, and Carl and I kind of got into it a little bit about, Carl, you talk too much. You always swear. You can't, just like, oh, this, Carl, you shouldn't. And like, he took offense to that. I'm like, dude, if anyone is going to get strikes for talking, it's going to be you. And of course, who's the first person who gets a strike for talking in the challenge on our tribe? It's me. So I was wrong about that, which is hilarious. And then like, he would not let me live that down either. But like Carl was great in that challenge too. But so the way we were positioned and the way the cameras were positioned, you had to pick up the sign, relay a message, get it to the secondary mute person, and then they had to give it to the runner, right? I told Carl, hey, move slightly over a little bit. Let me hug this tall grass line on my right-hand side so I can have a straight line to Jeff and just feed him what I'm seeing. So like, I dig deep victories. What was it? Dig deep victories, whatever it was, but like, victories around the corner. So like, dig deep victory. They know my last name's King. So like, victory, crown, victory. spin yourself around, take 5 minutes doing it, be really, really intended with your movements, and then point out like a box, right? Box, the corner of the box. So around the corner. So he was super quick. Like, I think I only had to pick up the sign one time too. So we talked earlier about that first reward challenge, how they were, Okina was really quick on that first, slide puzzle. Mm-hmm. This is the longer version of that. Like, Jeff was so quick on picking up what I was putting down, literally, like the literal sense of picking it up and putting it down. He was already running back, and it was a freaking blowout. And it was so special to be a part of that.
We've also kind of talked about the next immediate challenge as well, the steal the bacon challenge, where the race out, grab the ball, bring it back. Is there anything else you want to bring up from that challenge too?
Yeah, Charlie, you left your jock over behind the red line over there. I can go help you pick it up if you want to. No, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. And I know that there were certain people on production and cast who were, kind of didn't think the challenge was safe enough, if you will. I don't know. But I tell you what, I will not take away from the battle between Trinica and Jordan. That was battle of epic proportions. And then again later with Carl and Tony, like those were, I can be great all I want, but like those were the best two. Like, don't even that was the main card between those two. Like those two matchups were, again, I said something about like survivor porn. That's it right there. Unless you're there watching it, I mean, that was what you starved 4 days to go out and do. And those two like were great. Even Shauna too. Just, my God, it was a team effort. Blake, freaking Car. It was a total team effort. We got a lot of wins from a lot of directions when we needed it most.
Yeah, from Sandra. Trinica and Jordan set the tone of that challenge.
Fuck yeah, they did. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Sandra, you're totally right. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that was the, I don't know, like Michigan had to have Jim Harbaugh get suspended and Mr. Brightside play in the fourth quarter for them to come back against Alabama. That was our moment. I mean, that was our Blake Corum or Donovan Edwards 48-yard rush, and then another 52-yard one. I mean, those were our two moments for us in that challenge. That was my personal, because I didn't make it that far in the game. That was my personal national championship for those two in a row. Like watching my teammates compete, win, and just do great. I mean, it's a family, and you're a family, and we went through all that shit in the first couple of days together, and just seeing it all put together like that, incredible. They did amazing.
So, talking about the vibe around camp having won these next two challenges.
Again, I think my confessional after winning that challenge was I did my confessional in front of the camp and was absolutely bear hugging the giant, eagle immunity idol and, euphoric. It was great. No one was talking strategy. We were just relishing in the moment. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, you got to go back and do another challenge.
Yeah. Because
after that.
At this point, you've kind of figured out that, the two people who voted for you are Shauna and Maddie. Is there anything that you're doing about that? Are you kind of?
I still don't know if Shauna was the second vote. I haven't gone back that far. I'm just assuming, but I think maybe she didn't and had somebody else. I don't know. Like even it could have been Sandra for all I know. Like,
at that
Sandra
point,
played no, I mean right now I don't know. Like it right
is
now.
Shauna. It is Shauna.
Oh, well, Shauna. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I was right from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's all good. I mean, so are you starting to like talk to your people, say, hey, I'm thinking Shauna next, or are you kind of like, we'll leave strategy too if we lose again?
Yeah, I basically said, are we still doing Shauna next? And that was after every immunity. And, I got lots of, and not a whole lot of conversation because honestly, we were winning. There wasn't really a whole lot of need for it, and then we kind of got forced into going back for the eating challenge.
Yes.
Where, every tribe had to go to tribal, but one person got the idol. I thought I was in a great spot in the game at that point. And like, I wanted to put votes on Shauna, not because like I didn't want to play with her. I just thought we were incompatible in the game because we were both kind of playing a similar game. Mm-hmm. But again, if it's 7-2, 2-1 on the first vote, like I'm thinking, okay, great. Like, well, Maddie P lied to Carl and I. So like, at least we have Carl, like the next vote's going to be, 7-2 or 6-3 or something like that. It's going to be Blake with 3, not me, because he got the first vote. And then I saw my name twice. I'm like, okay, fuck. Okay, witch hunt. Here we go. Salem witch trials. Here we go. Who is it? But I was right about who it was, at least, you know.
Mhm.
So, like, again, my intuition in the game is right, but I could have gone about it in a much more silent way.
Mhm. So you have the gross food challenge where your tribe is from the tribal council. There's nothing you can do. It's the question of who will be immune. We talked before. You did fairly well. You made it to the top 4 of your tribe, and then you didn't make it to the 1,000-year eggs part of the challenge.
Yeah, which I probably would have eaten quicker than Carl too. Those are delicious. I actually
Okay.
Yeah. I would have been the Trinica of the first 3 rounds for that egg. You know, just again, talk about a monster competitor. Like, I didn't work with Trinica, but like, damn, that girl is strong competitor, and she went back for seconds and took some back to her camp with her. Like, again, aside from the question, like, damn, Trinica is a freaking healthy, strong competitor. Like, I could not, like, on the other tribe, not talking to her at all in the game or even after the game. It's just like, man, that's a person I really wish I could have worked with in the game, because she's weird like me and I want to be weird too. And like, I loved it. Like, oh, I got to take the plates off of other competitors. No, but yeah, going into that, you know, the 3rd round of that challenge, Blake and Carl have already kind of proved themselves in camp by eating weird shit. So like, I wasn't ready to.
Carl's saying, I ate that thing pretty fast, though.
Yeah. Okay. Fast enough. I still could have beaten you on that one, Carl. I would have swallowed it. You swallowed it whole. I would have taken 2 bites and it would have gone down quicker. Trust me, it tastes delicious. Explore your taste buds a little bit, buddy. But once we got to the worm, the 3rd part of the challenge, what was it, like 5 or 7 or 10 worms or whatever it was? Like, Jeff and I looked at each other after Blake and Carl put up their cups, and Jeff and I were just like, set him down. I literally walked away after that. I'm like, I'm just going to walk back to the tarp. It's not worth it. They put him back and they're chewing, and like the agony in the first half second of that, when they, you know, shot the gun for that round, I was just like, I'm good. You know, I had my tofu, got my protein, got my wasabi. So my metabolism's still going. Like, the giant tofu block, I've got protein. I don't need any live worms to throw it all up later on. So I'm going to keep the protein and the nutrition that I have in my system, because it was a big block too. And I love tofu. I work at a really nice restaurant that has a Vietnamese fusion with a French culinary kind of background and philosophy. So just having tofu in my life, I freaking love it, even if it's raw and dry and, you know, not with a whole bunch of sauce. And a wasabi bean, ooh, a topping. So yeah, just seeing those 2 freaking absolute tanks just try to down worms all at once. Was Jeff and I looked at it. Nope, not us. Nope, we're done. Bye. I'm proud of where I went. I didn't think I'd go this far in the eating challenge. I almost considered just sitting it out, but nope, away. I'm glad they got to eat the worms, but nope, not me.
So you get back to camp. You have all night and the next morning to strategize. What does the strategy look like for this vote?
There wasn't a whole lot of talk, honestly. I guess it had already been predetermined that my name was going to be the next one to go earlier in the day, or maybe a day before that. After day 1, for sure. I know that for sure. But yeah, it was probably end of day 2 or 3 or something. I don't know the full timeline. But for me, it was a complete blindside. I knew I might get a couple votes from the same people, but I thought I could at least get 5 people to vote for Shauna, and everyone else I thought was kind of in the wind or might go along with it. But little did I know, like, it was going to be as brutally lopsided. And like, I did leave things at camp. You know, I was that confident about going back to it. But yeah, I mean, I thought I was in a good position. I probably got 25 minutes of sleep or something, but like, it was still cold. Things were still wet. Different people took shifts chopping firewood at the end of the night. But honestly, there wasn't a whole lot of conversation. I think in my head, I just thought that some people thought that they had the writing on the wall. And honestly, Shauna talked to me 3 times in that day. You know, she pulled me aside twice. I pulled her aside once. To try to work something out, like try to have a, you know, Geneva Convention or something like that between our gameplay. But, you know, I thought that I was confident enough with where I was at and with the people I was working with that, you know, eventually voted me out, that it was for me a complete blindside. And I said that too the second, you know, we got to the trial. But yeah, there was, without jumping the gun, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot. There really wasn't a whole lot of discussion. We were exhausted. We did 3 challenges that day. We didn't vote anybody out that day outside of Deb, first vote of the day. But like after we won a couple of challenges, like we were on a roll. So like I thought it was going to be a position where, we drop one more person and then we win a bunch more. And then go to a flip or emerge. Like I thought we had a lot of momentum, and maybe dropping one person, like people's feelings wouldn't be that hurt.
So 2 questions. Let's say Shauna comes to you and you try to work things out. Who would you have voted for if not Shauna?
Oh, hypotheticals. Who? Maddie P, I think was who, because I talked to Carl prior to the vote, and that's when Carl swore to me that my name was not getting written down. So, and this was slightly after I had I pulled aside my alliance of 5, or our alliance of 5, or I guess it was mine. I guess it was that cocky enough at that point in time in my life. But, and just said, hey, I don't want to piss Carl off. Let's do Maddie P instead. And then Sandra is the one who said, no, we have a vote. We're doing the vote. It's going to be Shauna. And, then we go to tribal and then it wasn't, but yeah. But yeah, no, the conversation, like it was going to be her. Maddie P was my first choice, because I was going to try to stay in the good graces personally for my game with Carl, because Carl could be my individual shield as a physical competitor later on in the game.
I feel like looking back in games when I've been voted out, sometimes I kind of look back and say, and I kind of like, well, I think there may have been signs I just didn't look over or didn't think about or didn't take into account. Looking back, were there things that you saw but didn't really realize at the time that like, oh, my alliance is conspiring against me?
Yes, but that came after the game. And
I mean, yes, it comes after the game.
Yeah.
But in our retrospective look, what were some of the things that you're like, wow,
I did find it interesting how quiet strategy talk was at camp that night. So, if anything at all, in the back of my head, I packed a little bit of a larger bag, because it was literally we woke up and went to tribal. There wasn't really a whole lot of morning conversation. It was just more of a, okay, we're going to tribal now. It's like, all right. So in my head, I just thought everyone was too rushed to even have a conversation about strategy, but really they'd been having it the whole time. But no, in my head, I just thought there just wasn't enough time for people to talk strategy in between votes. And we were just going to go the de facto next one up on the chopping block based on who we had talked about before the last vote. And obviously my personal vendetta with getting votes on me, in case Deb successfully used her shot in the dark, I was out for blood in that moment. So no, like if anything, the one thing I noticed was how quiet it was. Like no one was really talking a whole lot, and it was cold as hell. Like let's not forget that it was really cold.
So tribal counts the next day, and what was your reaction to watching the votes getting read?
After I saw my name a second time is when I knew, oh, okay, it's me today. So I thought it was going to be, I thought we were, I don't know. I saw Sandra's vote a little too soon, because she kind of, she told me how she earmarks her signatures when she votes people out. And I don't want to give that away in case she plays future games, I guess. I shouldn't be doing that. I'm talking out of shop, but she kind of gave me what she did when she wrote people out. And I saw that on the second vote. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. It's going to be me today. Good job, guys. So I had enough time to process that I was getting blindsided a lot quicker than most people, because, you'd stack the votes based on, creating drama, for TV. But no, once I saw that specific earmark from Sandra with my name on it as the second vote being read, I knew it was me. And that was enough time to be like, all right, I can play this one of 2 ways. And I decided to play the humble guy who wants his team to win. And I'm super proud that one of us did.
Well, your ride or die was with you to the end, right? So you and Blake vote Shauna, and everyone else turns on you. And had you known that your name was a likely target, would you have played your shot in the dark?
Oh yeah. Yeah. If because I didn't have immunity. If I would have known that maybe I was gonna have it, I wouldn't have played it if I didn't think I had the votes. No. If I knew I was gonna take some hits, but still have the numbers. I mean, like anything else, baseball is a 162 game season. The best teams win 90. It's kind of that thought. You can still lose 72 games and have 90 wins. And still be the World Series champion. And that's that was my mentality is you're going to take some shots, you're going to get some votes, but as long as you have the votes on your side and go as far as you can, then get past the team stage and you can fight for yourself at that time.
Mm-hmm. You kind of touched earlier about the decision to not go to redemption. Is there anything you want to add to that discussion?
No. What I said in the game is accurate. Like I had other responsibilities back at home and, all the moving around that I've done in my life, I have a dog back at home too. So my dog's my son, Todd is my son. So like getting back to my son and getting back to work were priorities for me. And honestly, the quicker I got back to work, the more time I could forget about how pissed off and betrayed I was in the game, but still knowing that people were, 19 other people were playing the same game as me. But, you can play the greatest game ever in your head. But I guess the one or two redeeming things that I had from that was I made a shit ton of money that weekend. Ann Arbor was hopping. So we did a good job that week, that weekend. So I'm glad I went back to work early.
So no regrets about that choice to not stay at redemption?
No. And knowing what I know now, especially with the foot injury and what the last challenge was and how kind of the structure and format of that was, I couldn't have won that. There was no way I probably could have won that. Just based on my physical abilities at that point in the game.
Yeah. And there's a chance that you might have won the next heat, which was vote someone in. Like you might have been able to.
Yeah, I could have gotten Matty P out or something like that at that point or something. Yeah. I don't know. Like that dude in this game, he was like, he's the Donald Trump of that game, man. He's Teflon Don. Like that dude can do anything wrong. He can lose, but still come back and win. I mean, I don't know. Like there's no other way I could describe the way that Matty P played that game. I mean, he played it so politically savvy. He played it he got lucky a few times. I mean, this was a game of destiny for Matty P, I think. And there's nothing I could have done on redemption to change that. And I don't want to take that away from him by saying I could have done something different to beat him. I couldn't. I did everything I could and I still couldn't.
So more hypotheticals, your favorites. Say you are not voted out. Which swap tribe would you prefer to be on?
Oh, this is where I get to claim blissful ignorance again. Okay. I couldn't even tell you who was on either tribe. I knew a couple people were on blue, a couple or green, a couple people were on pink from each, but yeah, I didn't really follow that close.
Okay, so you would have both of the swap tribes have an equal amount of pink. So one hand you have Blake, Carrie, Sandra, Shauna. Other hand you have Carl, Jordan, Matthew, Jeff. Which side of the divide would you rather have been paired with?
Probably option 2, just based on physical strength, but personal relationships, option 1.
Okay. And that was the tribe that did win most of the challenges. So
go figure.
Could have been a good place to be.
Right.
So you stuck around at redemption for another. You left
at the lodge, not redemption. Yeah,
sorry,
I left on that Friday.
Friday. So that would have been day 7. No, day 6. Day
6. 7, whatever.
Yeah, because it starts on Saturday, so that's 1.
No, did I leave Thursday? Oh God, I can't remember. Here we go. Yeah. I was voted on a Tuesday. I don't know. The whole game blends together. We're looking at a calendar now. Yeah, I stayed. There were 2 more days to go in the game before, when I left that morning. So I left on with 3 full more days to go.
You left Thursday, probably.
Yeah, it would have been Thursday then, I guess.
Okay. So you kind of left right around redemption ending and the merge happening at that point.
Yeah, it was right about that time.
Yeah, and so in the post game, because you're non-redemption, you also have Danny who's there, right? So you get to meet him for the first time. How's that?
Danny is one of the most special human people that I got to meet after the game, and him and I spent an entire day together. When I got voted out that morning, and like we literally, just it's that awkward tension of this guy's been in here for a while, left his tribe for a different reason than I was aware of, and I left my tribe kind of heated and personally pissed off. Not that I was that to anyone in the game, but like when I got back to the lodge, I was hanging my head real low. It took me a long time to even get my survivor clothes off and shower. Like I was that last guy on the field after the Super Bowl on the losing team. Like I was bummed out. But you know, after the shower, Danny and we had lunch together that Dr. Lee put together. Got some protein in us.
The tofu wasn't enough?
What was that? No, tofu. No, I think I personally had like 8 of these little spam sandwiches that he made. And they were fire. I swear to God, I have the recipe at home now. Like absolute spam sandwich, right? Absolute fire. But yeah, I spent the day with Danny and it was incredible. We had the day really to ourselves. I won't go into like all the nitty gritty details about like what we did, but yeah, it was a really, really good day meeting a person that outside of this game, I never would have met. Number one, number two, just the worlds we come from are so different that in no way we'd intersect. So I'm great guy, like amazing guy.
And you also mentioned, you know, you get to see Jordan towards the tail end of your experience there too.
Yeah. Like I said, so when Jordan was my alarm clock and I was following the game close enough to know who the next person was voted out, you know, just to be like, oh, was I right or was I wrong about things? And then I was right, you know, consecutively over and over again about where people should have voted. They should have voted with me. No. But yeah, when Jordan came in that next morning, 24 hours after I was voted out in the same spot at the same point in time in the game, just a day later, you know, like she was my alarm clock. I was going to sleep in a little bit. I ran downstairs and her and I made eye contact and we're just both like, and then we both just start laughing, give each other a big hug. And then her, Danny and myself, we all just kind of had the day together and just bounced around a little bit. So I got to spend the day with those two, like with Jordan too. So yeah, I mean, closest friends in the game, you know, obviously are, you know, Blake and Carl and Sandra and Jeff and Jordan, you know, but outside of the game, definitely, you know, at least at the lodge, like Jordan, it was, you know, having her join, you know, Danny and I was just like, oh my God, you know, like, so one person I don't know, one person that was in my alliance that was my silent killer with me, and like she's laughing about voting me out. We shouldn't have voted you off. Like I know. Like we had a good little talk and laugh about it. Jordan's freaking awesome. You know, like I drove us all into Union City together, the three of us, you know, because, you know, like I said, I drove down, so I had the wheels, and so I was the cool kid in high school for that 2 days that I was there after the show. So we got to hang out, you know, I go to Walmart for Reelfoot, and, you know, went to a brewery, and, you know, it was a really, really fun time to actually spend time out of the game with people you competed against that, you know, and also people you didn't know, because you got like a lot of good introspective on the other side of the game that you didn't know and kind of guessed about. Around the clock. Well, what's the other tribe like right now? I bet they're fighting. But there's a women's alliance. But there's this. But there's that. There's not really a rattlesnake. I bet they don't think we got struck by lightning. Like there's always that. So finding the other side of it, the devil's advocate that you have at camp is not the same as the reality, and hearing it from another person.
Anything else about the post game you want to talk about?
I don't think so. Like I said, I'm a little bit upset that I didn't get the chance to stick around for another couple days and see the finale with everyone else. But I'm not upset about having my own priorities and living my own life and, you know, working for my own family.
We've kind of touched on this early on. How is the game processing the game your experience? It's not immediate. It takes a while, right? How has that been going for you then?
It's tough. I do have some personal things going on in my life privately that sort of amplified a lot of my emotions in the game that I won't get into. But I think just having the ability to open up, and I'm generally, you know, I'm outgoing, you know, in front of a camera and on a microphone and, you know, in front of other people at a bar, but you know, just having tough real life conversations about really humble topics in family and life and, just losses and, successes and gains and achievements and pride and just, having that in the game and tying that into having real people with real experiences and going through, like, all 10 of us could have been killed, and like that still hasn't set in for me. I keep bringing it up and I don't think it's amplified enough by other people. Like, we're playing a game, but like we all almost got killed 15 feet away from us. So, at what point does that hit? It's going to hit other people differently. Some people are going to see it. For me, it's amplified because I've had a lot of personal trauma. And then not making it that far in the game and literally wearing my heart on my sleeve was, it was a tough way to go for sure. But those are sort of the human connections that I think are unique to just the game and philosophy of Survivor. As a syndicated show on CBS. But I think those are also elements that, Amos and Pete and everyone that work tirelessly around the clock in the way that they create a culture of kindness, respect, and fair competition, I think is, it's a life lesson. And if there's anything I want to take away from this experience, inside or outside of the game, that it doesn't hurt to be a good person.
You're a Survivor superfan. You've watched the seasons. Season 47 will air this fall. How do you think this experience is going to change how you understand Survivor or watch Survivor?
Interesting. Not a thought that I'd really even considered yet. I don't know. I think it's more going to be like, oh, I've been there. And being single.
I can guarantee when you watch players in the rain, starving and stuff, and you're like, I've done that for 2 days, but I've done that. I know what it's like.
I don't know. I just feel like, because I'm single and, I just feel like at some point when I open myself back up to the world and, talk about it, I don't know, maybe it'll be something that people find attractive in me or something, but it's also a life experience. And, I've been and lived in so many different places, South Florida during the pandemic, ran a brewery in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Beer City, USA, and living in New England on the coast and running a 5-story floor to table restaurant with a brewery attachment in New Hampshire, and living in Wilmington, North Carolina for a summer, and, doing Galveston, Texas. Just doing this was just another etch into, I guess, my vagabond life story. But I think I would strongly place just the experience of Survivor Reelfoot, certainly top 2 or 3 for me. I mean, it's raw, it's authentic in a world where nothing's like that anymore. I mean, it's what you get is what you get. And it's a mason jar of rice and hopefully a second tent. We didn't get it. So, like, you're SOL if you don't get that second tarp right away, especially if there's weather on the way. So it was a real raw way to learn how to cope with victory. And I said victory before defeat because it's really how you win, and not really how you lose, because you can be lose and vote out whoever's annoying you at any given time. But it's how you win, and who you take with you when you win is how you get further in this game. And and at the end of the day, it can only be one person. And just I will take that life lesson with me, and hopefully into the next time I play Reelfoot, and hopefully the next, if I do play another live reality game, and now I know the acronyms.
One of us.
Yeah, right. I'm part of the cult now. Shit, I should make everyone a Michigan fan. Our fan base is a cult. But
there's probably an intersection there somewhere.
Yeah. Real fans are the ones that didn't go to the school and donate money to it. Honestly, yeah, it's the blue collar workers that wear the DM hat. But no, honestly, it's I feel like it's for the opportunity to go out and test not only yourself but other people and find a common ground of this sucks, but also find a common ground of like, oh, we're winning. What do we do now? We got nothing to do but time, because when you're losing, it's easier. Because there's always something else on the itinerary. When you're winning, it's freaking boring and you're sitting around, taking a nap. What are people doing when you're winning and someone's taking a nap? Other people are talking. So honestly, I think I probably would have done better in the game if we were losing more. to be completely honest, but
Now
like,
imagine if you were on a 3-day cycle, so you only have a challenge every 3 days, and like if you and how you should have to deal with the boredom there.
yeah, I know, and I did consider that too. That was something that I thought about in the game as well. It's like, fuck, if I'm bored right now, imagine if it were the old 39-day format. Like, ugh, like there'd be so much downside. What do you do with that time? You know, you can't even like put on a true crime documentary. Like, it's the middle of summer. There's got to be a baseball game sometime. You know, when do the West Coast games start? We'll stay till 2 a.m. watching 9 innings. But yeah, no, there was none of that. It was, you didn't have any notion of time. You heard the wolves in the night. You know, we had black widows in our camp, and you know they had a rattlesnake in their camp, and holding a rattlesnake was freaking awesome. I mean, nothing I've ever done before, even though its head was cut off. It was still jerking around, you know, cut off the head of the snake, snake still moves. Like, you hear about it, you read about it, you read a bunch of books. It's always talked about in books and mythology and everything else. But when you're actually holding a freaking heavy ass rattlesnake in your hand and it's still moving around and the head's chopped off and you're holding it from the tail and there's still blood squirting around while it's jerking, that's a real experience. Like, you can't take that back. Like, outside of the game, some of the things you do at Reelfoot are second to none, and like opportunities that you don't get without testing yourself, but you're also driving the other people in your tribe and the other people you work that are in the game too, because at some point you're going to work with them or against them. I mean, you're going to work with each other at some point. They still have team phases of individual immunity challenges, so like just having that joint experience with a whole bunch of other people is just it's a lot of fun. Being able to do everything that I wanted to do in this game, not everything, but like I feel like I maximized, you know, 4 full days. Like, I feel like I maximized what I could do in 4 days. And that's why I can't sit here and be mad or have regrets or anything, because like, I got to hold a rattlesnake. Lightning was in my camp. I flipped a kayak, but I won twice in this and got to hold that stretcher and was really good at charades, guys. Even though I can't build a fire, but I'm a good cuddler when it's raining out. You know, it's like you learn so much about, you know, yourself that, you know, in those couple of days too, you learn what you're good at, you learn what you suck at, but it does translate to real life too. I mean, it does certainly translate to real life. And, you know, just some things that you do on a daily basis are easier now because of it. I will say that.
Is there anything else about your season you want to talk about or get into that maybe haven't had a chance to do so at this point?
I think like in the game where I did a lot of talking and not the best listener after the first day, because apparently I was good for 1 day, according to Nate. But yeah, I was a good boy for 1 day. Yeah, I got my cookie and got an immunity alert for the try. But no, it was just I guess my closing thoughts are just the production team, the casting team, just everyone. Thank you so much for you too, Stephen, giving me the opportunity to share not only my life, but my experience in the game, but also extended to the production team and the tribe handlers, post-production team, the staff doctor, Pete, the de facto doctor who decided he wanted to clean my toe and kept saying toe condom to the point where I thought like I just was going to start, you know, laugh my ass off for the next 2 hours. Oh, it's just a toe
I can't imagine Pete saying that.
It's a toe condom. Just like, it just the little, I could go on for hours about the little things in the game, but like those memories you can't get back. And just for my own personal goals, I would like the opportunity to play Surviving Reelfoot again. Maybe not next season or down the road or whatever, but like just having this chance, I feel like there's a lot of with you know, without sounding repetitive, but unfinished business, I think.
Man, if only the season before wasn't called unfinished business.
My season would have been better 2 seasons prior to unfinished business, so I could be on that and play with Brent.
There we go.
Because that way I'd know someone in the game too. Hey. but yeah, no, everyone has been super great. And I do stress that this game does change people. And it's definitely for the better. You may think it's for the worse at the very beginning and be disappointed about your individual results, but like the Olympics are about to start. There's only one gold medal in every sport. And there are going to be a lot of people crying. Literally tens of thousands of other athletes crying for not getting that gold medal. So, it's you do the best you can, and you take your licks when you get them, and fight on if you get the opportunity to. And if things don't work out your way, then at least you can say you did it.
Well, I have a couple rapid fire questions to throw at you as we close
Heard.
out. So just the first question for you is, who surprised you the most out there?
Who surprised me the most?
Mm-hmm.
Carl.
Okay.
He was the really, like angry. I just thought he was like this freaking redneck from down south somewhere. And like he is, but like he's the hardest freaking working, loyal family guy. And and again, I don't want to stress, I can't stress enough. Like Carl and I have had some really tough conversations together after the game. Not about the game, just things going on in our personal lives. But we've had some really tough conversations after the game, and I just meeting Carl has been an absolute blessing. So what my preconception about him going into the game, completely wrong. I mean, this is one of the nicest human beings you've ever met.
Who do you wish you had a chance to work with but didn't have a chance to in the game? And I've heard you throw out a couple names, so I'm curious to see who you land on.
If I had to pick one,
you had to pick one.
Charlie.
Okay, interesting.
Yep.
What was your favorite challenge you competed in?
Oh, stretcher challenge by far.
Okay.
Yep.
What was a favorite moment back at camp that maybe we haven't talked about?
Ooh, interesting. I gotta dig for this one a little bit. This is gonna sound again repetitive, but it's been a 2 hour and 10-minute podcast so far, so I guess I can repeat myself once or twice. Yeah, just being the closest one to the lightning strike at camp when it happened was definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's not for better or worse. It's just it happened, and that's the point. Yeah, definitely that, 100%.
You find the idol instead of Carl. Is there a world where you play it at that second tribal council you go to?
No, I would have walked with it. Yeah, no, I thought I was strong. I would have walked with it.
You can pick one person your season that's not yourself to come back for a returning season of Reelfoot. Who would you pick?
Carl. Just because if I'm not playing it, I'd rather watch it. Then yeah, I'm gonna pick him. Dude's a wild card. I love the way he plays. Like I love the way he plays. Definitely Carl. Yeah, just for shock value.
You talked about how your Reelfoot journey began with learning that Brent Showerman was playing Reelfoot and kind of watching him play this last season. Is there someone in your life you're like, they need to know this and try this?
Yes, and which is interesting because there was not a casting call per se, but when they were still casting members for this season of Reelfoot, there was something on Facebook I saw way back in the winter. I couldn't even tell you the month or whatever, but like we need more females to apply, right? Yep. I have like 7 in my own personal orbit that I could recommend to play this game. So yeah, I've got about 7 people immediately that I know I can and who would do it too and be great at it.
There are a lot of games I would love to see more female competitors. So
yeah, I've got
places that want them to play.
Yeah, most of the girls I know are like MMA fighter bartenders. So I think yeah, and they're awesome though. Again, they're super sweet and the nicest people you'll ever meet. It's like that humble giant kind of that they would be not only physically strong, but like extremely good at the social aspect of the game because again, they're also in the service industry. They talk to people from all walks of life and sobriety levels at any given moment, at any point in any given day. So I think they'd be great at the game.
You can go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice before starting.
Oh boy, hypothetical. Here we go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You can go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice before the game begins. What do you tell yourself?
Shut the fuck up, Jimmy. I got it from my mom growing up. Maybe she had something going on along. Maybe she's right.
You've been very open. Like you want to come back. You want a second chance.
Yeah.
Would you be open to play other Survivor games besides Reelfoot, or Reelfoot's the one?
I don't know. I haven't really gotten to the point where I've had the time to kind of look at them. I mean, I followed a couple, I mean, your page obviously and some other ones, and seen a couple casting calls for stuff like that. But I don't know if I'd want to jump right into doing Survivor again. You know, maybe I'd want to maybe expand my horizons. The only other really reality shows, only 2 seasons old, that I would consider maybe do is like Traitors,
Mhm.
you know, because it'd be more of a controlled environment and all you do is talk. And the challenges don't mean a whole lot.
Mhm.
So maybe I'd be better at like a Traders live reality, if they even exist, like a reality game like that. I think I'd be good at.
I think Aimless was did launch one. I don't know what the details about that, but I imagine we'll see more of those trader games pop up now that we've had seasons. There's the mole, like there's mole games out there as well, and that's a non-competition driven style event. There's Big Brother. There's some original style games. Feel free to message me offline. We can chat much more
we
about
can wormhole this. Yeah, we can nerd about this later on. Yeah, for sure.
I think that's it for questions I have, James. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to talk tonight. This was a lot of fun. I loved hearing your story and everything that happened to you in the game.
Hey, cheers, my friend. Thank you so much for having me and just for accommodating, hearing even some of the losers' perspectives of the game. You know, it was a lot of fun, Stephen. I wish you all the best.
Yeah, so everyone tuning in, thank you so much for taking your time to listen to us talk. This is one of many Reelfoot deep dive interviews with more to come. I'm hoping in this next week, I'll at the very least hopefully be talking to both Jordan and Shauna, who will give us some very different opinions about how things went down on the non-Kana tribe, I imagine. So get excited.
I bet.
James, take care, and everyone listening, have a great rest of your evening as well.
Go Blue.